you want to be a part of the Coco community? Sure, we all do. So join this free weekly live talk show to find out how easy it is to watch at home and learn about your color computer. At the CoCoNation, more than 9 million men and women have participated in the community without setting foot outside their homes. And now at home in your spare time, you can see what's happening, or even join the discussion. Choose from any one of these segments: panel intros, project updates, acquisitions, Coco Thoughts, featured interviews and events, the Game On Challenge, news, Ron's Garage, Coco commercials, show coverage, panel goodbyes, or you can join one of our extra shows. You can choose from the Game On Challenge Live or Coco Tech. Join the CoCoNation right now.
Click the link for the free information TJB Chris spoke about. Then decide if you want to watch the CoCoNation Live Show, the world's leading live weekly talk show featuring the Tandy color computer, its siblings, cousins, and red-headed stepchildren. Visit thecoconation.com. There is no obligation and no salesman will visit you. Visit thecoconation.com.
The CoCoNation show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCoNation show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCoNation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCoNation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Welcome to the CoCoNation Show, episode 365. We've gone through a year's worth of Saturdays.
Yep, that's 365 days you could watch a show every day. It's different. It could be up to 6 hours a day of your life gone away.
Now there's a motto: 6 hours
There's a waste.
day of your life gone away.
Oh, let's see. You know what?
I'm probably not selling it right, am I?
You know, they use our show in prisons in the special.
I thought they outlawed torture chambers.
No, it's indoctrination.
Oh, let's see. Who we got with us today in the panel? We've got Rick. How you doing?
Yeah, ready. Howdy, folks. They gave me this. I'm feeling much better, so you know, look that up. You'll be good.
Yeah, I got some of those too.
Hi, everyone.
I want to see that chemical formula that was on there. It looks like it's interesting. Does some fun stuff.
Oh yeah, you should get Taylor and Amy to put it in their thing. Their script cycle might be involved. I'm not sure.
Now, what I'd like to see is the folding machine that folds that stuff up.
Right, because there were only 6 pills in that package.
There's more paper than there were pills. Okay. Next over, Terry Steege.
Morning or good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show.
All right, and Ron
You're a bit rusty.
Delvaux.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show.
And back from the Titanic, we got MarkO.
Hey, glad to be back after a couple of weeks. I've missed you guys.
Didn't hit an iceberg?
Nope, not at all. Did
you even see one?
No, just shards.
Huh.
Yeah. Did you know that that they have terms for little pieces of ice and moderate pieces of ice? The little ones are called growlers, and ice bits. There's a name for sub iceberg size.
I just call that half the year here. That's what I call that.
You need to know that if you jump off the side of the boat or what?
No, just an
like,
interesting piece of trivia.
Steer around them anyway, right?
Yep.
All right, next row we've got L Curtis Boyle.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
And yours truly. And we got Henry Gernhard.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the CoCoNation. My name's Henry, and today I'm taking a break from real life because real life takes up 2/3 of my day these days.
How could that be?
And Ken Waters.
Real life doesn't take up any time for me.
It's just one big hallucination for him.
Yep.
He doesn't have a real life.
And next over we got Kevin Holloway.
Hello, everybody.
And Bob Emery.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the show.
Bob's in the Matrix.
That's right. And we've got 8 Bits in the basement.
How you doing, everyone?
Pretty good. And Jason. cocoman.biz.
That's right. Someday it'll be there again. A little technical difficulty there. But it's time for the CoCoNation show where you have to ask yourself, is this real life or just fantasy?
Are we caught in a landslide?
With no sake of reality.
I was just about to ask Ken to answer that question.
Wait, who said that? Who's talking to me?
Get off my lawn.
And last but not least, we got David Ladd.
Why, hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I hope you're ready for another energetic and exciting episode of the CoCoNation.
We have
keep it up for 4 hours.
We have dueling enthusiasms.
It's a good thing. We have more than we need.
Does that sound more like yakety sax or more like dueling banjos?
In the chat, we've got Kevin Holloway, Jim Rye, Sixy, Julian Brown, MarkO, Tom Eric Gunderson, Mark Siegel, Terry Steege, J.E. Jones, 3141. Exile in Paradise, Peter Willard. And that catches us up.
Terry, it's nice to see you on the show.
And Jim
Thank
Gary. He just popped in. Okay. Intro's done.
Finally.
Oh, let's see. I need to push this over here, slide that down there.
Don't push that one.
Let's see. Project updates. Rick, I think you're up on the list.
Okay, well, I guess when we left last week, there were some issues with the CoCoIO and the Coco STC, which don't play together very well on especially a Tandy multi-pack.
Rick, can you get the mic closer? You're a little bit faint.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, let me am I here?
Yep, there you are.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so I guess the issue, we've got a couple of different issues working right now. The STC and the CoCoIO with the ROM, you should be able to put them both in the multi-pack and flip the switch and just boot whatever you want. And right now you can't do that. You can boot the STC okay, but if you try to boot the ROM and the network card, there's some collisions and the network quits work. There's something going on there. So it is possible to boot the STC, use the network card as a network card. It's also possible to stick the thing inside of the Coco and it works just fine. But you can't just pick it out of the slots, and we're looking at why the heck that's happening. And then a secondary problem, I seem to have fat fingered the fingers on my card a little bit, where you have to line it up just right to get it to plug in properly. There should be more gap between the pads on each finger than I'm using. So
is that both multi-pack and the side slot?
Well, apparently the side slot's a lot better behaved. People were having problems on the multi-pack. It seemed to relate to if you can, shove it one side or the other and plug it in, and it will plug in. And because my fingers are fat enough, you might be able to confuse things. That's a theory. We aren't sure that actually happens, but it is proven that the finger traces on my card are much wider than they should be compared to other things.
That's got the potential to shorting out the bus.
Well, nothing like that's actually happened, but just pointing out that this,
maybe just one finger is just a smidgen too wide.
Or there's dust, because there's not enough gaps between the different fingers there, and you get a little bit of, spooge or whatever, and now you've got a resistive connection.
Hey, Rick, not to take up a lot of time here, but at Coco Fest, I was running my 3024 MPI with the Coco STC in slot 4 and the CoCoIO, both the original one and the CoCoIO ROM in slot 1. And I had no problem flipping the switch to slot 1 and booting off of the CoCoIO, bringing the ROM up and everything. So
it could be just some certain MPIs as well. This is all just, this happened since the Coco Fest. We haven't really had a whole lot of time to.
Okay, I'll delve into that conversation with you.
MarkO, was that on the Coco 3 out of curiosity? Like, is the MPI upgraded?
The Coco 3 upgraded. Yeah, Coco 3 upgraded MPI 3024. So yeah. So I thought the chatter I was seeing was the Coco 1 that was having problems.
Well, that was mainly, I think, Coco 1s.
Okay.
Because they all started working after a time, which I think might have just been everyone got their Coco 1s out. And,
Yeah, I haven't tried on mine on Coco 1 yet, so.
Let's see.
Guess I'll have to try.
I'll be honest, a lot of the testing I did was I was either booting OS 9 from the STC and using the thing as a network card, or I was booting from the card and not involving the STC at all. And it looks like our big problem is as soon as an ASCII boot learns to write to a local disk, there's no way to do that right now because they trip over each other in the multi-pack, which I'm sure is a gross misstatement of everything that's involved, but that kind of seems to be what's happening. So It's something that we didn't really do much in testing because we were both concentrating on, okay, does the boot work and does the network card work from OS 9 as a network card, and not these various combinations of, can I just flip this? I don't know. But
this is why I do software.
Right. And as far as the original, if you want to boot from STC and use this as an Ethernet card, or if you want to boot from this and not use the STC, those two cases seem to work. It's only if you want to boot from Axiom and then somehow involve the STC in that process, like you want to boot HTTP DOS from the Axiom boot and then use your local storage. That doesn't work right now, and it should, but it doesn't. So,
well, being that the Coco STC has a modified HTTP DOS ROM, yeah, I would expect something like that.
Well, and we did come up with the question of it does bank switching. So when it's banging bank switching around, what does that do to us, and vice versa?
Yeah.
So it's all it's things are moving forward, but that's
don't know what the
where we're at. There are some things that work reliably, and there are some interactions that don't get along just yet. So,
okay.
New hardware is always fun.
Oh yeah, I love it. And then if you need to tell everyone, okay, all we have to do is remove a 32nd from the left side of the card fingers. Okay, well, there's a mailing campaign, and I'm there with my little file. And instead of just putting out a bug fix, it's like 12 bytes, and yeah, I'm with you guys. I may turn into a software guy yet.
It's just took one soldering iron into my hair, and that sealed the deal.
And you were done. So. Yeah, I didn't catch on that quick.
All right. Let's see. In the chat, Exile in Paradise, his update. Nostromo is most likely a playable game. Working on a single audio driver to play 17 different audio clues on nearly all of the available sound card options for the Coco Dragon. And then I think a little bit further down, Mark Siegel says something about herding electrons. Anything like herding cats?
Yeah.
Meow. Kind of a Schrodinger's cat if you're herding electrons, isn't it?
So, and then it says, he says for Nostromo, I managed to spend far too much time today on trying to find the perfect way to handle the audio multiplexer. The coding was easy, the programming design I can't settle on. Getting close though.
Yeah, we'll have to have him on for a demo when he gets that up close to running. Mm-hmm. I will mention we were going to try to have Erico. He was going to hopefully come on to announce the Savage sort of CoCoN. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I sent him a message on Discord, and I didn't hear anything back, so I'm assuming he's too busy right now because I know his work's really piling up. But other than that, we have another software product launch that's officially happening today as of this morning. That involves Mr. 8-Bits in the Basement, Peter himself, all the way from France.
Yep.
So if you want to highlight him and maybe me, I'll share the screen for his itch.io page, which will actually be in the show notes too that you can get on the Discord, which are already there if you want to grab it early. And you can talk about the launch and how the testing with the Dragon went.
Well, I only really got 60 to test it for me. That was it. He gave the conversion a little go. And there's not many people I know with dragons at all. So he said to me, it seems to be working fine anyway. He was happy enough. He played it with his wife, and it worked fairly well for them. So I was happy enough with that, and it worked for me. That? Are we still working? Are we still hearing me?
Yeah, we're losing. You dropped a couple of syllables, but you're okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Still there.
So, yeah, I managed to launch it this morning. So, I mean, I've played the hell out of it, and it seems to be fairly solid anyway. So I imagine it's pretty solid. I haven't seen any crashes in it or any kind of unwanted stuff going on in quite a few weeks.
Unexpected features, I think we call those.
Yeah, maybe so. But No, it seems to be fairly solid. So hopefully, if there are any problems, I'll try and address them anyway. But I think it should be fairly good. So that's that. It's
and you've got it set up to be a free download.
That's it, yeah.
Not even a contribute whatever you want, but just plain free.
No. Just take it and play it and enjoy it and profit from it. Because what I wanted to do, I managed to discover what assembly language was. I really didn't know anything about it, so I know what it is now, and I managed to make this thing with it, and really to try and give something back as well for everything I've gotten from the Coco and all the rest. There you go. I try and give something back, and that the Dragon can profit from it as well. Brilliant. That's what I'd say. So,
yeah, and just for those that are on the audio listing here, I'll just mention, because we're looking at your itch.io page, and you've got a disk image for the Coco to download, a cassette image if you don't have a disk drive. You also have the cassette image for the Dragon 32 and 64, and you also have the source files for download. So if anybody wants to figure out how you wrote both the Dragon and the Coco versions, you can actually grab that as well.
And good luck to you trying to figure that one out, because the comments are all over the place on it. But I threw it in there anyway, just in case anybody might be interested to see what it was, or to tell me what I did wrong or what I could have done better. And you can be sure there are tons of things. But yeah, no, that's it. That's pretty much it. It's done, dusted, and there you go. I hope everybody who tries it enjoys it. That's pretty much all I have to say on it. So get on over there and take a copy of it. Won't cost you a penny. That's it.
Okay, like I said, go ahead.
How'd you wind up in France? You have a very heavy French accent.
I do. No, I was living in Ireland, and my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, I met her in a pub over there, because we used to go to the pub pretty much every evening after work. And I was out for a guy's birthday party, and she won a box of chocolates, and I wanted a chocolate, and I kind of ended up talking to her all night, that kind of thing. And then she went back to France, and then she kind of came back to Ireland, and we got married over there, and we were living over there for a number of years, and then we moved over here because it was just, at the time, it was a little bit better here. Things were a little bit better. So that's pretty much how I ended up here.
Oh, cool.
Now that's a love story. How'd you end up in France? I met her in a pub.
Yeah, well, that's
over a box of chocolates.
I wish that had happened to me.
A couple of glasses of whiskey, a few Guinness, and a box of chocolates. Yeah, that's the way we do it. Yeah, get them drunk first, you see.
Well,
that's the secret.
At least you didn't win her over some Oreos or something.
No, I didn't know. No, I wasn't demonstrating assembly language addressing with Oreos that evening.
A French woman who likes whiskey and Guinness. Wow.
I know. Yeah, it's something.
You think she'd want a wine or something, but
no. But I'd say they have to get in so much of that here. You know, that when they went over, like something new and different. So there you go. Anyway, what can I say? That was 26 years ago. So there you go.
So if anybody has any, excuse me, any feedback for you, or wants to report a bug if they find it or something like that, how should they contact you?
But they don't have to. I left the source code. They can fix it.
Ah, okay. Geez, I should use that with Nitrous 9, because I do have the source code on there.
There's the comments at the bottom of the itch.io page, and they can throw in a comment that way. I'll be checking those every so often. And also my email address isn't all that hard to remember. It's 8bitsinthebasement@gmail.com.
What's coming next?
What's coming next? That's a very good question. I wouldn't say there'll be a whole lot coming for quite some time yet. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to try and port Bob over to another computer that shares the same processors. So I was hoping it'd kind of be, an easy enough task. But as it turns out, the memory mapping and all is quite different than it was on the Coco, and some of the little shortcuts and the tricks that I used are kind of landing me into a brick wall on this other system. So we'll see anyway. But I don't know. I don't really want to say I'm going to do any more, because I really don't know. It took me a long time to do that, and I spent an awful lot.
And you had the Atari VCS version you did before that too. So I mean, that's twice you've already done it.
That's more or less it. But the Atari VCS version was a lot faster than the assembly version was. I was belting away. See, I didn't do the Atari one in assembly language. I did it using Atari Basic, which is an easier, way easier to use. So to learn that took a while, but then to actually write the game only took a couple of weeks, whereas with the Bob for the Coco took quite some time.
Yeah, but you were learning assembly, you were learning how the hardware works at a software level all at the same time. Like this is all brand new for you, so that's understandable.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah. But no, look, I would like to do something again for the Coco at some stage, but I don't really want to make any promises one way or the other. You know, I really don't, because it could be
under promise and over deliver. That's my motto.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's good.
You know, one of these times you'll see something that you get you real excited and you'll want to get going on it, and then pretty soon we'll hear something, right?
Well, maybe so, and hopefully. Hopefully so, because once you kind of dip your toe in it, it seems I enjoyed it an awful lot, so I'd say I will dabble back into it a bit from now and again. But quite honestly, I spent all of my free time in front of the computer programming Bob, to be honest with you. I after work every evening, I spent at least 2 hours just doing that, and on weekends I spent a number of late nights. There was over the weekends I spent about 8 hours Saturday and about 4 or 5 hours Sundays as well on top. So an awful lot of time. I mean, there was a huge amount of time went into it. But then, like Curtis said, I wasn't just writing it knowing what I was doing. There was a lot of write a thing, and if I knew what I was doing, it would have taken an evening, but it took like a month and a half because.
Well, I give you credit for sticking to it.
Yeah,
that's good. You got it done.
Well, once I started, I wasn't going to let it go. That's one of my many faults. The other one is I can't shut up talking once I stop. Once I start talking, I shut up. But no, one of the other faults I have is once I'm fairly tenacious. When I have an idea in my head, like I don't let it go.
I want to mention a couple of comments here in the chat. So 60 says, "What's not to like about Guinness and whiskey?" I mean, maybe not together. Dave, Mr. Dave 609 says, "I had a Coco 3 and a Camaro. My girl did not stand a chance. We got married soon after." And Exile in Paradise, Alan Murphy asks, "Does the Coco version have the 2-player mode?"
It does, yeah, it does. Coco version has the 2-player mode because what I want to do was I wanted to make it as much like the Atari version as possible, but with little extras that the Coco could give. So it's got better graphics for the Hedgehog. It's got better little animations because the Fireflies on the Atari version were just a square that turned from green to yellow to red. And in the Coco version, they're a little animated bug that turned from blue to yellow to red because I couldn't use green as I had that for the background. But so I tried to make what I could make a little bit better. But I'll be honest with you, the sound on the Atari version is better, I find. It was easier doing it. Also,
it has a bit of a sound chip itself. So
it sounds a little better too. But the Coco version the Coco version I'm quite happy with, actually. I'm quite happy. I remember I said to my son when I started, I said, look, don't expect this to be anywhere near as smooth or as good as the Atari version. And I kind of surprised myself at the end of it because it's quite good. Actually, I prefer it than the Atari version at this stage, to be honest with you.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to stretch your wings there a bit if you want to learn how to do some background sound processing here, Coco Town series, of course, he's done that.
And
Nick's use the same technique. And your game doesn't have that much graphics moving around, so you could fit that in the background without slowing the game down.
There could be a little kind of musicy type thing going on.
Or sound effects that doesn't pause the display or whatever. So you probably could improve it, or didn't you put some digitized sound effects? Takes more RAM though.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I could do with it. And he spoke to me about double buffering as well to improve the graphical quality. But honestly, kind of at the point I was nearing finishing the game, and I didn't want to dive back into it for another 4 or 5 months that it would have taken me. So I said no, because what could very easily happen is I'd start doing something else and then just kind of leave it and everything would stop. So when I was so close to the end, I said no, we just push on.
Yeah, don't feature creep it that close to the end.
That was pretty much it. Yeah,
that's my mistake.
So do we have a link? Good at it. Do we have a link for the download to put in the chat?
Yeah. That's one I just showed on the screen. It's in the show notes too, which is already on Discord, or I can post it in here if you want.
I sent a zip to the archive as well, to the Color Computer archive. So I'm sure they'll probably stick that up at some stage. I don't know how long it takes for them to process whatever they've gotten, but I sent the zip file to them this morning containing all the little cassette files and the disk file and the source code as well. So hopefully,
yeah, GUIM usually takes about depending how busy it is, but it can be up to a week, just depending.
Yeah. But that should be there anyway in the foreseeable future as well. So there's that, and in the meantime, it's there on itch anyway. So there's that side of it.
Well, if anybody missed it, 3 of us posted the link into the chat there. So pick any one of them; they're all the same.
Excellent.
And I hear a rumor that it might be a featured Game On challenge sometime in the not too distant future.
Well, you'd have to ask Ken about that.
I've never heard that rumor.
I know, I just started it, but anyway.
You just haven't.
Now you're committed.
Ken.
Presumptive practice.
Checks in the mail, Ken.
Yeah. So that's that anyway for the moment. So there you go. I just said I'd pop on just to tell you that if you were interested. And,
yeah, I know it's pretty late for you there, so I don't want to keep you going too long.
I have to get out to the pub, mate.
Yeah, it's time for Guinness and whiskey.
You're doing a wedding renewal or something? Is that why you're going to the pub? Or?
Yeah, every evening to be a wedding renewal evening.
It's Saturday. What?
He's looking for more chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about shipping chocolate. Oh God.
Okay. Any more project updates?
Well, I guess I could give a little short one.
Okay.
Sure. I think it's probably the same thing. I have the news, so I'll just skip it because I think it's the same thing. But go ahead.
Just having some technical difficulties with the cocoman.biz website. I've been using free web store and some kind of snafu happened there, and I had a temporary. But basically, long story short, you can go to cocoman.onlineshop.web. Or I'm sorry, let me try that again. cocomanonlineweb.shop, and that will take you to the CoCoMan store. And at some point in the future, when I figure out what this whole technical snafu is, cocoman.biz will point to that site. But that's the same shop it was before. That's the same shop. If you search for it in Google, it will direct you right to that site. So it's almost working again, other than the cocoman.biz redirect not working.
Okay.
It's
because I know a few people had asked about it. Then you posted on Facebook, and then I had that link. And when I tried it this morning to load up the news stuff, all of a sudden it wasn't working again. That's when I contacted you. So obviously there's a bit of snafus with the back end there.
It's been a long saga, but I'm using the free version of free web store, so I'm getting what I pay for. I have problems with my registrar. I've moved it to a different registrar, and I think I'm still waiting for everything to propagate for it to forward to the online web.shop site.
Yeah, but you're definitely waiting for propagation because DNS lookup shows no A or quad A records found. I can't even find any CNAME records.
Yeah, I think that's probably a result of changing registrars, because the other registrar I was using they were no help. They just tried to sell me more things. I'm like, no, this used to work. I'm just trying to move it, and now it's bad. It's been a long drawn out, frustrating. Let's call it a Charlie Foxtrot over the last week or so. So
who's your current registrar for cocoman.biz?
It is Namecheap.
Namecheap.
Is it advertises what's on the tin then? Is that the point? Get a domain name for cheap.
I'd say it was reasonable. I thought they had free domain forwarding, which is what I wanted. And the other registrar that I was using was ironically called .easy, and there was nothing easy about it. And I would not recommend that. They just kept wanting to sell me more stuff, and their support gave me like 3 or 4 different answers, and I just finally said, I'm done. I'm moving it. I'll just extend it another year and move it. And that was one of the ones that came recommended, so I did it. So hopefully propagation fixes this in the next 24, 48 hours. I don't even know how long it will take or how long it should take, but fingers crossed.
It's usually 24 to 48, but I'd encourage going and just making sure that your DNS settings on Namecheap are actually in place and like committed, because I'm using Namecheap's SafeServe using their server. It's coming up with a can't find your cocoman.biz.
Okay, well, if you'd like to, we could probably take this offline at some time, and I can follow up with you maybe.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, if we don't see it within the next day or two,
I've looked.
if we don't see it within the next day or two, give me a holler.
Yeah, I've asked a few people about it, and I was on Discord earlier, screen sharing, and it's like German. It's like trying to read German stereo instructions.
That's all right. I speak a little bit of German, and I'm quite proficient in stereo instructions.
9.
10.
Old.
Volkswagen. That's all I got. Back to you.
Okay. Let's see. Any other project updates? No? Okay. Do we have a Ron's Garage segment today?
Sure, run it. Yep.
Okay. Let's see.
Ding. I got stuff all over there, don't I? Oh, geez. Yep. Oh, great. Okay, well, I just go right down to the story here. Look at this. Guess where I found this? Retro Rewind ad on Nitrous 9. And this line, I believe it's this line here. It keeps, it'll come up again, and it gives you different things that they sell and stuff. And I thought, what? So I posted it here and there asking, what's the deal? And L Curtis Boyle said,
oh, am I supposed to say it?
yes,
Okay.
you're supposed to say you're not listening.
Basically, I want to do a couple demo programs, and I thought a good thing to do for demos would be to promote people in the Coco community that actively sell hardware, software, or just share things in the Coco community. So Frank had a Retro Rewind little demo on his Commodore. What's the little portable, luggable one called? CX64 or something?
S6.
Yeah, and I thought I can do better than that. So I made this one here, and actually I will mention one little quirk of it, the way I wrote it, because it's written under Basic 9 and Nitrous 9 with multitasking and shareable files, is that you can edit the text file that has all those little ad blurbs while it's running and change them on the fly, and it'll pick them up as you save them. So you can actually update that even live during a show without having to reboot or anything, or even reboot the program. And then I did a second one, which I don't think Ron found yet, but I did a little promo for Taylor and Amy's show for Halloween. It was just because they were asking for some Halloween stuff. They did end up using it, unfortunately, but that one's on there too. But I'd like to get more on there. I'd like to put one, say, for Ron's Garage and Cloud9 and Canadian Retro things. Anybody else that is selling products, you guys give me some logos or something on the Coco, preferably in an OS9 format if you can, but a regular Color Max 3 or Coco Max or something would work too. And then give me an idea what kind of animations and stuff you want.
I can't believe that you would pander to our sponsors like that.
Well, it's to promote the community, right? And it's a way, if you download Nitrous 9, but you say you're not on Facebook, so you never see any of this stuff,
so
then
that didn't make much sense.
Then you have a way to actually kind of see what's there. I put the web links and stuff there so people then go hit the web pages directly, but it's kind of like promoting the community itself. And I don't make any money off this, and nobody solicited me with cash. I will refuse it if you try, because Nitrous 9 is meant to be free. So,
what about chocolate?
Don't talk to me about chocolate.
Free Tim Hortons.
Oh, but I want to talk about chocolate.
Okay. All right. So now we're going into another area.
That's
you guys
right.
ever see this? Telnet to this?
Yeah, that's the 20-minute version of Star Wars in ASCII. Yeah, that's been around for decades.
Yeah, but it was down for quite a while.
I had a local copy saved at one point, but yeah.
Yeah. So I use this archaic program on this is Windows XP on this old Dell, and it works great serving the internet to my machine through a RS-232. Anyway, it's fun. That's about it, guys. I got a bunch of junk on here, you know. Basically, I've been doing FujiNet stuff, and you know, causing them headaches because I send them information about what's working and what's not working and stuff, and I have no idea how to fix it. I just tell them, and then they get a little frustrated because I probably go a little overboard. Sorry, guys. But anyway, that's it, guys. Thank you for your time. You ever get bored, you know, come to Ron's garage and look around. Go to the media mode. You can see all the pictures of stuff, and if something interests you, you can bring it up and look at it and then put it back.
Okay. So there's a message for you, Rick, in the chat.
Oh.
You can't read your
it's pretty thin. You can't read through that.
So for the audio listeners, it's a message saying, how long until Rick realizes no one can see the shirt logo because of his beard?
Hey, then the whole joke was the
He
logo.
needs a fan so he gets
Damn
that
it.
dramatic blowing thing going there. So he looks like, you know, Billy Gibbons or Leyland Sklar or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Billy on a motorcycle. There you go.
Okay. So I believe that's the end of
the show.
Project
Unless some of the
updates.
the late joiners like Nick here have an update on anything. I don't know if they do.
No, nothing.
No.
And Bob Emery, you have no updates on hardware or anything this time?
Well, I've got some PC boards on order, so there'll be some coming up. I've got
Okay,
3
cool.
different boards coming in.
Do you got a camera pointing at that mailbox out front?
I have them going to my work.
Oh, smart.
Yeah.
I will mention that next week Ken is going to be in transit heading back to the cabin, but he's going to be popping by here to pick up a bunch of Tier City Model 1 stuff and a little bit of Coco stuff. And he might actually be showing up here during the show. So you might see him just jump in the background and like scare me or something.
So your trailer's in good
Way
shape
to
this
ruin
time?
the surprise, Curtis. Way to ruin the surprise.
I don't want to be surprised. That's the point.
The cat loses its job, does it?
Yeah, I'm just going to climb up on top of Curtis's screen back there.
Yeah, all 70,000 people that watch the show are disappointed, aren't they?
If you count all the repeat views for the entire, 365 episodes, that might add up to 70,000. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
Is that standard or metric?
X.
You know, we just
I hope
had
it's X.
the Coco Fest show, and all of our egos were inflated because we saw all these people that see us on TV and stuff, on the computer, and how you doing, Ron? How's your friends? How's that Vicky doing? And they talk about stuff that you wouldn't think that people would be a part of your life in that way. It's kind of amazing. And it's like I took some pictures with some friends and stuff that you meet online, and it's neat to see them in real life. And then later on I show my wife the pictures, and I go, yeah, see these guys here, they're on the show. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, see ya.
It means nothing.
Smacked
Which
with
proves you
real
really
life.
were at the place you said you were.
Yeah.
See, Ron, next time you have to order chocolates. From what Peter
Yeah,
had said,
really.
that's the secret. If you bring chocolates back from the show, well.
Oh, okay.
Especially some good Canadian chocolate bars.
So yeah, another Coco just doesn't do it, huh?
I think you have too many already. That's worn off already.
This could possibly be a problem. Yeah.
I don't think there's any more updates, is there? David Ladd, you don't have any updates? I don't know if you're working on anything these days. Ken, you're working on a bunch of things, but I don't think any of them are Coco related at the moment.
No,
right now,
I don't have anything.
You're still working on that Diet Dr. Pepper?
Jeez.
Okay. Ready for the game on results?
If we must.
Okay.
When's your co-host coming back?
Never. It's all about me. Welcome everybody to the CoCoNation Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Zaxsund. That's right, you heard me correctly, Zaxsund. We had a total of 14 players. We had MarkO with 1500, Mr. Dave 6309 with 1850, Ed Rhodes 2650, Mike 2700, Mark B 3750, Coconut Bob 4000, Shenley 6450, Canadian Retro Things 7200, Jim Rye 8800, Sloopy Malibu 12,000, David Craker 32,050, L Curtis Boyle 38,700, Dr. Ted 116,750, and this week's incredible number one score belongs to Tazman with a score of 999,900, and he did purposely end his game there before it wrapped over at 1 million. Thanks everybody that played. We'll see you again next week.
And the CoCoNation salutes Tazman.
Salute.
Salute.
And another amazing thing about that score was that he actually played that game for 3 hours to get it. So
Okay.
that's
that was dedication.
That's
Couple extra
dedication.
salutes there.
As I mentioned in the Discord chat there, I'd done that back in the day. Like I'd wrapped it too, because once you kind of get the sequence, especially in space, there's a certain place where they arc down and you can hit them on the bottom every time. You just move left, move right, shoot, move left, move, and if you get the timing right, you can go forever on that. And killing the Zaxsund itself is pretty easy. You just go to the floor basically, and then you just have to dodge shots. And basically, once you get that rhythm down, you can go forever too. And I didn't feel like doing that again like I did back when I was a teenager. So, because I've wrapped it back in the day
Oh,
too.
geez,
so.
Curtis, way to spoil the surprise about the tips and tricks.
Well, I'm just preempting you here. So.
A 3 hour score, a 3 hour score.
Isn't that 3/4 of our
You
show?
can wrap it multiple times. Let's put it that way.
All right, so before we jump into more tips and tricks on that game and tips and tricks on the other game that we're playing, Rainbow June 1983 had a review of this game. It was interesting because it actually reviewed both Zaxxon and Zaxsund. Basically talked about how the game is played through the first few paragraphs there, and then talks about how Zaxsund is the unofficial version of the game, that it has amazing sound effects during the beginning and ending of each game, and it's very similar to Zaxxon. Says that both the games are excellent, fast-moving graphics with great sound effects, and that both make you really feel like you are flying a spacecraft. Also, the responsiveness of the joystick is very good. And the reviewer does say that Zaxxon has a slight edge in the graphics department, but Zaxsund has the edge, offering the two different levels of play, the beginner and expert modes, and then adds that if you have to choose between the two, he recommends that you either flip a coin or, better yet, treat yourself to both of them. Now, I have to disagree there. Definitely go for Zaxxon. Now, Zaxsund, I think, would have been a good game if it had not been released at the same time as Zaxxon. But because they were both released around the same time, Zaxxon is by far the superior one, and that's definitely the one you should play.
Agreed.
Curtis, you can talk for a second. My cat is scratching and howling at the door, so I'll be right back.
That's exactly why I ran off earlier too.
Hello?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree. The sound effects are better in Zaxsund a little bit. It's basically just white noise explosions and stuff like that on Zaxxon, but the graphics are so much smoother. Gameplay's better. It's more challenging. Like we mentioned before, once you kind of get the rhythm of Zaxxon, you can literally go forever until you fall asleep. So I don't quite agree with that review either. And like Ken said, I'm trying to remember if Zaxxund actually beat Zaxxon by a month or two to market. I think they did. So it's kind of like Donkey Monkey and Donkey King type thing. Like if the one came out a month before and you hadn't seen the other one yet, you go, oh, that's not bad. And then you see the the main event, and then it's like, oh, I guess I should have waited.
Yeah. Actually, I would have been quite disappointed if I'd followed that reviewer's advice, flipped the coin, and ended up buying Zaxxund over Zaxxon.
Yeah, I do think like Charles Rosland, who wrote that game, and he did a lot of more. He was more famous for doing utilities and productivity software for Elite. He also did War Kings for Tom Mix earlier, though, and this is an improvement over War Kings, I think, as far as graphics, etc. So he was stepping up his game, but it just it didn't equal what Datasoft and Steve Bjork did.
Like honestly, it would have been a decent version to have if there wasn't a far superior version available. So
yeah, agreed. And I think on the live stream, or was it on last week's show, I gave a whole whack load of tips. So if you want to delve into the tips and tricks of Zaxxund, you can probably just review that again rather than me trying to repeat it all here.
Geez, that means I had to have paid attention to you?
No, you never do anyway. Why would you start now?
It's in the index. Just go to YouTube, scroll down, and
yeah,
there you go.
Thanks, Rick Ewan, for doing all the indexes for all of our shows. Actually, that's a big plug. He spends a lot of time doing that, and it definitely saves me occasionally looking up. Somebody will ask you, when was the episode where you interviewed so and so, or you talked about this, and I have to, YouTube search sucks. So I have to try to find the episode, but then at least Rick has, click here to go to this exact link to that part of the show, and then you can find like specific stories, from the news or specific segments of the show, as opposed to a generic, here's 6 hours, have fun looking through it all.
You can rob us blind.
So
yeah, Exile Paradise is saying Zaxxon hands down. Wayne Campbell says I never played Zaxsund, so I have no opinion of it. Don't waste your time unless you want to hear the sound effect, which is kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah, it has good sound effects at the beginning and the ending of the game, just like they said. That's
even during. I mean, the explosion sound when you kill something there, I think is actually a little bit better than the just warbly white noise. Mind you, the graphics stop dead while it's doing that, whereas Zaxxon actually animates particles and stuff. So, Nick, what is your opinion? Have you tried both of them or just Zaxxon? Oh, he's back to being asleep again.
Yeah,
I haven't got to the news yet.
He probably.
I haven't tried Zaxxon. I might have back in the day, and I thought, nah, don't like this one, and then never looked at it again.
Well, he didn't write them, so obviously he doesn't like them.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't like Rogue. What is wrong with him?
Yeah, I know,
Oh,
exactly.
no, right.
Do we actually trust his
his game review judgment? No. He likes Neutroid, he doesn't like Rogue. That kind of wiped him off there for
that
reviews.
Is 2 giant strikes against him.
He writes good games though, except for one. So it's all good.
And the other game that we were I think that's enough about Zaxsund. It's not that great of a game. But
it's not horrible, but it's
not horrible, but it's not great, and we definitely have a superior version. So if you feel like playing a Zaxxon game, play Zaxxon.
We still have to eventually try that dragon one though.
Yeah.
Zax's son.
Son, yes.
I think didn't 60 say that we should avoid that one?
Yeah, but I mean I want to compare it with Zaxsund now.
Oh, right. Okay. Who's the worst?
Which one is worse?
Yeah, which one's worse? Did the dragon get the worst part of the deal, or did we?
Are we going to do a Rotten Tomatoes of Coco games?
Ooh, new series.
Well, the thing is, just like the Amigos do on their shows, they don't always pick the winners either. Like you want to go through the whole catalog. You want to see like, why did this game outsell this one 10-1? Oh, now I know. And it's fun to sometimes just do a scathing review. I mean,
yeah.
A little bit of snark never hurt anybody.
As long as it's not Rogue you're talking about.
Oh, that was a fun review.
That was just plain wrong.
You got to
The only thing
actually
Rick, the only thing Nick got right in that review was the spelling.
you got to actually be accurate in your scathing reviews.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other game that we're playing is Robotack, which is a version of Robotron.
Correct.
And yeah, it's a twin stick shooter, so you need both joysticks to play it. If you don't have both joysticks and you're playing through an emulator, you can actually map both your joysticks to one joystick, and then you just fire in the direction you're moving.
It is easier if you can do the separate ones, and it's even easier
is.
yet if you have a second player. One can control the fire and one can control the moving, and then you can wrap that one just as quick as you can wrap Zaxsund.
So we've already had some very high scores in that game, so that's what I was expecting, because it's not a hard game.
Yeah, there's no different skill levels to pick from.
Now, tips and tricks is if you want more points, there's two types of robots that are on the screen. There's the ones that change every level, and then there's the ones that are the same every level. And the level automatically ends when you kill the ones that are the same every level. So if you kill all the other robots first and then kill those ones, then you can actually get more points, because otherwise you can end the screen with a lot of points still on the thing, humans to pick up, stuff like that, if you accidentally kill all the one type of robot. So that's my tip and trick for that. And thanks to Jim Rye for that, because he's the one that told me about that during the live stream.
Yeah, my view on Robotack is when it came out, because it came out in late 82, early 83, somewhere around there. It looked really good. It keeps the speed up. I mean, it's moving things by bytes to keep the speed up. It's not doing like bit shifting, which would have really slowed it down. But it's frenetic, but it's too easy. That was my one disappointment, because once you kind of get the feel for it, you can, like, it's another one where you last as long as you want, type thing. I prefer gameplay wise. There's another one that came out a little bit later, I think, and it's lower res, like it's P mode 1, but it actually is more accurate to the arcade game. Like, the one big disappointment for me on Robotack was that the Hulks, the big square blue things, in the original arcade game, you can't kill them. You can hit them and kind of slow them down so you can dodge around them. And in here, you just mow them down like everything else. And to me, that was a huge disappointment in the game, even though it sounds and looks awesome. That was one big disappointment for me. The other one, the little P mode 1 one by I think it's Bumblebee Software, actually does have the Hulks bounce when you hit them. So it's much more accurate. And of course, if you want the ultimate arcade experience, get your Coco 3 out with 512K and just load in the transcode by Glenn Hewitt.
Yeah, definitely. Which is also a twin stick shooter. One.
Yeah. Back in the day, from my twin stick shooter ones, and there was a few games like that. There was Robotack, there was Project Nebula, and a few others. We had a big green 1970s armchair, and I would tape my two joysticks with duct tape right onto the armchairs, and I'd sit back and relax and just go. It was awesome.
My commander's chair now.
Yeah. I felt like Captain Kirk. That's what it was like. Yeah.
I wasn't coordinated enough to handle two joysticks at the same time.
Right? I'm struggling with one myself.
If you felt like Captain Kirk, did you talk like William Shatner?
Of course I did.
I tried to get MAME to function with using the hat switch on my thrusty as one of the ASCIIs, but MAME doesn't want to cooperate with that. And so it would make sense to have the hat switch be your firing thing and then this to move back and forth, but I couldn't make it work.
Yeah. Visually, it's a really nice game. It's the kind of the sequel for Intercolor. This is their second Coco game ever. They did Color Pede first, which was and is, I think, the best Centipede clone for the Coco 1 and 2 we got. And this one definitely followed in sequence. Like he really knew how to use the artifact color as well. He kept the speed up, high score table. You know, it's a really nicely done game. Just the one big flaw, or two big flaws, it's too easy, and part of that is because the indestructible Hulks aren't. But a lot of fun. It'll take you, if you've never played it before, it'll take you a little bit of time to get into the flow enough where you could rack and wrap a score. But if you spend a good few hours at it and you're any good at arcade games, I think you do quite well after a few hours of getting used to it.
Okay, now that you've talked about that, I want to see you wrap it.
I don't have time to do that type of thing. That's hours out of my day doing that.
Says a guy that's slowed down with age.
Yep.
Don't you have
I've-
time to do that?
My
while you're-
patience has slowed down with age. That is absolutely right.
Get off my lawn! And kids.
Like the next game on challenge, I will try to get on and I'll play it for within the 2-hour limit. But if I get back into the flow of it and I'm gonna last forever, I'll just stop after the 2 hours with whatever score that is. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I have lost the skills in Robotack. I haven't played that one in quite a while, but I just remember back in the day, like a whole bunch of us in the club used to wrap it all the time. It was just like who was the most patient and had the most time to wait before they had to go to bed for school the next day or something. That was the dictator of the score.
Well, there is a pause function on it, so you could have just paused it and gone to bed.
Yeah, but I got other things I could do on my computer, like play other games or log into a CompuServe with a hack account, or oops, sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Now you can have it running in an emulator in the background and just pause it and then go back and play it whenever you want. You can play it for the whole week.
And for those games that you don't have a pause button, you have the halt switch.
I don't see. Honestly, I'd go back to Rogue first.
The other problem was that just pausing the game, his mom would come in and shut the computer off.
Right. Or plug in
Yeah,
the
my
back
dad
end,
did that
which-
to me after I programmed a 16K game I'd been working on all damn day. He said, "That's enough." Click. I hadn't saved it yet. Lost all the code. I was not a happy camper.
Okay, well, I guess the tips and tricks for Robotack is that it's not really a very hard game, so just plow through everything.
Yeah.
Try not to
Basically,
kill-
pick a side, start sweeping, firing the opposite direction to wipe them all out, in one quick pass. So the ones that are near are done first, then you have time to kill the rest and go collect the humans. Repeat.
Yep. All right, so I guess we can take a little look at the live show. Where is that?
Yeah, we missed your snarky comments in the live show there, Nick. I joined late too, mind you, but
So, as you can see, there is one person playing Zaxsund, and the rest of us were playing Robotack. Because, frankly, by the second week, most of us had had enough of Zaxsund. And, yeah, it was, I don't think there was ever a time when there was more than 4 of us playing, so.
yeah, I didn't even get a chance to play. I think I joined so late. I said, there's no point in even bothering.
Anyway, we did have fun. Mostly making fun of Sloopy, which is always fun, and especially he's not here
That's why
right
we miss
now.
him on the main show now, because it's not as much fun making fun of him when he's not here.
You can still do it.
Yeah, but it's watching the reaction on his face when we do that. That's the key part. I wish Nick would show his face once in a while when we, sarcastically talk about Neutroid.
What's the sarcastically?
Porky.
We need more educated reviewers.
All right, so yeah. One interesting thing that I did notice about Robotack is that the only humans you have to save are women. There's no other people.
Well, at least they kept the important part of the populace in the game.
Well,
right, Ron?
All right.
I will say that the graphics on it look really nice
Yeah.
on Robotack. Like they're well done in artifact colors. I think it has a 2-player mode too, like not simultaneous, but alternating.
Yeah, alternating 2 players. Depends. Oh, by the way, if you're having trouble figuring out what, and you keep getting like 2 players starting, if you hit the fire button on the left joystick, it starts a 1-player game. If you hit it on the right joystick, it starts a 2-player game. And yeah, so come on, people. Thursday nights at 5 o'clock Pacific time. In the
8 o'clock Eastern.
In the Discord channel, the Game On Challenge live Discord channel. Be there. We play the games. We have fun. We make fun of Sloopy. So for nothing else, you can be there to make fun of Sloopy.
All
Is
right.
that enticing, everybody? Come on. And you can play the game of one of the 2 games of the week, or you can play whatever the heck you feel like playing.
Detroit.
Except for Neutroid. Neutroid has been officially banned.
Oh man.
Don't listen
Nick
to
and
Sloopy on that
Sloopy would
one.
be so disappointed.
Yep. All right, so yeah, be there on Thursday nights because it's fun. It's just a good time to get together and play some games together.
I was going to ask you, are you on the road ready by next week's Game On Challenge, or will you still be on it
I'll
before you
probably
leave?
be able to drop into the Game On Challenge at some point and be there for a little bit, but I'm leaving Friday morning really, really super early, so.
You won't be staying up too late for it then?
No, I'll also be in the middle of packing, so.
Okay.
And packing for 3 months takes a little bit, especially
Yeah,
figuring out
this is
how
your
many-
whole summer sojourn.
how many computers can I fit into my car and still have room for the computers that I'm picking up at Curtis's place?
Yeah, because I got like 6
All right.
boxes here, so.
And hopefully your trailer holds up better this year.
Yes. Well, it's brand new, so.
I mean, you don't have to worry about how many computers you can carry if you just get a bigger trailer.
Yeah. Just rent a U-Haul like Brian Weezer does. That's all you need to do.
Except that it's
Oh,
an
no, no,
open
no,
air
I'm talking
trailer,
get a-
so
I'm
the,
get- I'm
the
talking get
computers
a-
the computers have to go into the car because inevitably when I'm driving through the mountains, I'm going through snow, pouring rain, and everything. So I don't
Oh,
want the
right.
computers in the trailer.
Environmental, yes.
Just put your passengers in the trailer, and then
Yeah,
no, I'm
they'll
just kidding.
live.
That's my cats. I'm not putting my
Oh
cats
yeah,
in
that's
the
almost
trailer.
as important as the computers, right?
Exactly. Oh, and my mom, I guess, but she can run in the trailer.
Cats are waterproof.
You guys have roof racks, haven't you, on cars?
Yep.
Again,
That's for the mother-in-law, though. So
Right, right.
What was that
Roof
movie
rack is
where
where
they
all
put
my
the-
tools are for building my cabin.
Duct tape on the cats.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you seriously going up there with a cabin unbuilt?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I've been building it for the last 10 years.
Right. It's,
Oh,
there's some of it.
he actually does
Okay.
vlogs
Work
of
in
his progress
progress.
updates. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now I get it. This is the
it's a
job that
little-
never
My mom has her
ends.
own cabin that has like amenities like electricity that works all the time, running water, indoor plumbing,
Slacker.
you know, stuff
Internet.
like that.
Well, if you
The
live in
internet
Vancouver,
is-
you don't need any of that. Could just rains all the damn time, and you just put a pail out.
Yeah.
Are you using those Lincoln logs?
Nope. All the logs that I used in my cabin, I went out into the woods and cut down and barked and
I'm trying to remember.
Lovely
Have you
logs.
got better high-speed internet this year? Is that something that got upgraded, or is it still?
it's supposed to be coming to the area, so we'll see.
Because I know when we broadcast from it before, you had some issues with bandwidth.
Yeah, well, my 0.6 megabytes upload and download speeds
Or sometimes taxed. Sure.
are sometimes taxed. That's on a good day.
Yeah, when one neighbor starts kicking at the same time watching Netflix, oh,
Yeah, then you're down to about 0.3, 0.2.
must just do dial up at that point.
Yep. All right, so how about we take a look and see what next week's
Sure.
game is going to be for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so don't pay any attention to the bottom of the screen when you're trying to figure out what the name of this game is. So don't look at the bottom of the screen.
Oh shoot! I looked.
That's what you need. Eclipse glasses.
You need what?
Eclipse
you can't look
glasses.
at it. You have to wear
Oh,
your
eclipse
your
glasses. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
get it.
exactly.
Is the game called High Last?
Yes, that's it.
Nailed
Like
it.
High Last. So this is
Haven't we seen this before?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, the
This
guy
is-
who originally wrote the original version for what was it, for a watch or something? I think there's some watch gaming system. Erico was actually hoping to be on to talk about his newest Coco game, but this particular version here was written by Paul Shoemaker in machine language, so it actually has high speed scrolling, etc.
So Fireplay Test 7. Don't ask me why it's 7. What happened to 1 through 6? I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's like that one Leisure Suit Larry game.
And it works on a
So
Coco 1, 2, or 3. I mean,
Yeah.
he was showing like Coco 3 colors there, but it does work on both.
Now, the idea of the game is you're the little guys, the firemen down at the bottom there with the thing, and people are jumping out of the building. And you have to, they bounce off of that, and you got to get them into the little truck over on the far side without too many of them hitting the ground. Because if they hit the ground, then they run back into the burning building. Don't ask me why. And yeah, it's a pretty simple game, but it's fun. So it is available on itch.io.
On Paul Shoemaker's
Paul Shoemaker's. I'll
page.
put a link. I will be putting a link with the in the Discord channel for that. Now it does have it's a donate whatever you want when you get it game. So when you actually go to download it, it suggests $2, but you can put in whatever you want. So throw Paul a little bit of money for spending the time to make this for your game.
Yep.
If you,
No,
if
since the
you can afford
requirements
it.
is Coco 1, 2, or 3, do you know how much RAM it requires? Does it say on his itch.io page? I should mention Robotack will run on a 16K Coco if it's off cassette, and I think 32K does.
Let me just see if I can look that.
I don't have it on my
up.
side yet, so you can't cheat and look there. I'm hoping his itch.io page mentions.
Is the game in color?
On the Coco 1 and 2, it changes to one of the standard 4-color graphic sets for P Mode 1, I think it is.
64K.
64K? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original one that Erico did on the Game Watch was not monochrome, but grayscale. So that's what Paul duplicated on the Coco 3. So it looks similar to the original.
Yes, that was an aesthetic choice, Nick, to go black and white.
Right.
Like classic games like Rogue.
Yeah.
No, that one's black and white. That's just black and white. Not grayscale.
Yeah, this one's fancier.
Yeah. Yeah, Rogue's much worse.
And for any, the original Macintosh fans, it'll look like one of those games.
Or Neutroid.
No,
Neutroid's got 9 colors,
Not the
including
old one.
black.
Model 1 was black and white.
That's true. That's true.
All right, so that is the game for the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. And then you're not going to be here. Well, you'll be here briefly on the air next week. But you're not sticking around to actually do the Game On Challenge segment, I don't believe.
No, I don't have time to do all that.
Yeah. Plus, you'd be stuck next to me, so why would you want to do that either?
That and I also
you already did that already, driving to Chicago and back, and that was enough, I'm sure.
And I have many, many, many hours of driving to do on Saturday, and you're one of many stops. So
yeah.
But I mean, hey, if you don't mind the cats and my mom and everybody else coming in and hanging out at your house, then
no, I got 3
could stay
cats
for a
too. I'm
bit.
sure the cats would all get along swimmingly, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because my cats love other cats.
Yeah, mine do too. If you want to be a blood donor, that is.
Got the defer the house again, right?
Well, it's more like, what's that stuff they use in CSI to detect blood?
Luminol.
Yeah, you wouldn't need it. They'd just be plain obvious all over the place.
The blood's everywhere.
So anyway, Sloopy's going to be in charge of the Game On Challenge next week. I don't know if you're telling him what the game should be or if you're letting him pick.
Really?
I'm giving him a.
Hopefully that means he actually shows up.
I'm gone for 2 weeks, so because
right, we got Boat Fest the
I'll
week
be in
after.
Boat Fest. So I'm giving him.
Actually, I will be too. Somebody else is gonna have to do the news.
I'll give him a suggestion for one of the weeks, and then he can choose the other one. So another version of Detroit, I guess.
Detroit again.
I'm glad we're going to be at Boat Fest that week.
Yep.
You know, the entire show's going to be on the backup crew.
Yep. Because you're gone too, aren't you, Mark? Because you're at the Dallas VCF Southwest, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to VCF Southwest. Yeah.
So we need a streamer, we need a news host, and we need a game on challenge host. Because none of them are going to be
cool. We can make up all
It's going to be
kinds
a
of
short
stuff.
show.
You're gonna need to have someone come up with bad jokes because I'll be at Boat Fest also.
No,
Oh, you're
what you
coming to
do
Boat
is-
Fest? Awesome.
What you
think
do is
Henry
you
can
set up
step
a
in.
worst of reel. You set up a worst of reel, and you play that worst of reel and make that like a 2-hour worst of reel to go ahead and,
And
put
watch
in
it. That'll be the
good
best
place.
ratings we've ever had.
More likely than not.
Now, Henry, you're going to Boat Fest too, aren't you?
Yep.
Or is that still up in the air?
No, it's actually firm. The only thing that might hold me back is if I get caught on a mountain somewhere because my clutch decides to give out.
Sweet.
Just get a running start so you have enough momentum just to make it over the mountain.
So
That's the whole idea.
So just go put a new clutch in now. You know it's going to go out.
So
Probably
you'll
the same
get over
called
the
cost.
top.
Have you priced out replacing a clutch lately?
So
It's
you'll
probably
get
like
over
my air
the-
conditioner, which cost me $5,000.
Woo! You'll get over the top, and then you won't have any engine braking on the way back down. So,
That's not a problem. I just replaced the brakes, so I'm fine with that.
well, not when you're going down. You need never mind.
No, that's part of the momentum
I
buildup, Rick. You just let her go and,
Just
full
lived
throttle
in
down
West
the hill.
Virginia for a lot of years.
For everybody that this is your first time in Hurricane, don't follow your GPS
Yes. There are
Right.
signs there on the streets to remind you of this, literally.
and take them seriously.
Yep.
Is there
What,
something
does it
about
just
the
lead
mountains
you-
that throws off the satellites?
Could be.
Does it just direct you straight into the river?
You're in West
If it's
Virginia.
raining, yeah, it turns into a river. But there's
you're not
potholes literally the size of a car that it directed you to that were
Hmm.
about 3 feet deep.
It was supposed to be the entrance into the parking lot, but it was actually the back alley, the unused back alley of the mall that was full of car-sized potholes.
Yeah, and one guy took, what was it, a Mercedes or something?
No, it was a
following the
Camaro.
GPS?
Camaro.
Yeah, and did thousands of dollars of damage to it.
So hopefully there is actual direction somewhere on the site, and so
they
I
exist.
don't have to. Okay, they exist. I'll have to
exist.
find them.
One thing
Yeah,
about
Hurricane's
Hurricane,
not that big, so
it's
No,
basically one street.
Yes.
Really, it's a long
So-
one street city.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's
so
by
just-
and it's by the Kanawha River, so it's relatively flattish on both sides of it.
Yeah.
As compared to other parts in West Virginia, where it's one short street with a cliff going down on one side and a mountainside on the other.
it's like driving
Well,
to
there you go.
Vancouver.
I look at it this way: it's only about 4 hours away from me, and I'm going to go up a day early, and I'm going to visit West Virginia's only amusement park.
Oh,
Which is
Camden
nearby.
Park? You're
Yeah,
in Camden Park?
I am.
That's my old stomping grounds right there.
Yeah. Hey, I can look out my window right now, and I can see West Virginia from here. That's how close West Virginia is.
Yeah, when we went to see you on the way back last year, we were literally just had to cross over.
Yeah, you could. Oh, yeah, because it met you at the truck stop. Yeah, you could see.
Yeah, the one that was
you could see
flooding.
Yeah, you could see it right from there. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Which town in Ohio are you in, Jason? I can't remember.
Toronto.
Oh, okay, that's right. The one that I can't find.
Just go to Toronto, Ontario. It's a much bigger, better town anyway. It's, at least that's what they always tell me.
I don't know. It's always fun
It's
at the border
bigger.
explaining that. No, I'm from the U.S. Well, you said Toronto. Yes, I also said Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone to the fact that now I say a small town in Ohio named after Toronto.
That works.
Well, how do you know the Canadian town wasn't named after the Ohio town?
The Ohio town, I've looked into this. The Ohio town came later Toronto was actually its third name, and they specifically said in the town charter that it was named after Toronto, Canada.
Oh, nice.
Well,
Yeah.
I've
Well, Toronto,
researched it.
Canada was originally York, if I remember correctly. It's gone through a few names itself.
And if we want to go through one more useless fact about Toronto, Ohio, it is birthplace and hometown of the late actor Robert Urich.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm reminded of it every day because the road that goes to the freeway is the Robert Urich interchange.
So play the Vegas thing.
So just out of curiosity, who all was going to shows that weekend? Like I know Mark B, you're going to VCF Southwest. Ken, me, and Jason so far are going to Boat Fest.
And
Is anybody
Henry.
else in the panel going to one of these?
And Henry. Don't forget Henry.
Oh, Henry, sorry, yeah.
Clutch Willing.
I think
Clutch
I'll
Willing,
be going
yeah.
to Southwest. I'll probably be going to Southwest.
Oh, cool. So a lot of people are going to these shows here on that week. That's awesome. You're not going to have anybody left to actually run the show.
So Mark,
Cool.
you're doing it. MarkO, you're doing everything.
Yep, you're soloing everything. You're doing
I
Game
guess
On,
I'm
you're
gonna
doing
have to.
news, you're doing the whole hosting.
Okay.
Well, you come to think about it, I
two
am
weeks from
going
now,
to
right?
Southwest.
Yep.
But I'm going to Boat Fest.
I mean, with the majority of the panel going like that, I mean, how many
Should
are
we do a
actually going
live
to
one
the-
there? We could ask Boat and Air, and I mean, we've done their shows live, so maybe we can port the equipment. I don't know.
That's a possibility too.
So I plan
definitely
on
a possibility.
doing a live roving from VCF.
Cool, because Brendan I know is going. Jeff Styles of Chronological Gaming is there, and he's also actually doing a presentation. Boise's doing a presentation. Chris from TGB Chris is down there. He's doing a presentation more on Model 2 1216s, but there's quite a few people that are involved with the Coco community there as well. That's a show I want to try to make in the next year or two. Yeah, we might have to do some research on that and see, since we're having most of the people on the panel actually at these shows. I mean, it would be great. I think we're already planning on, calling in to at least, show the show around for people that can't make it, but maybe we should see about trying to host it. What do you think, Ken? Or is that taking too much time away from wandering around?
I don't know about hosting it, but definitely do a call in from there. Do a segment from there.
Maybe Boat will give me that little table to drag around with me again like last time.
That was sorry, cartoon brain. Never mind. Just ignore me.
Trina's Technobabble says I was correct about the original name of Toronto, being York.
Well, you know what they say, even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they did it, I can't say. Some people just like it better that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the original name here was. I think it was called Newburgh Landing, and then after the railroad came through, it was called Sloane Station, and then it became Toronto. There's your second useless fact.
There's one thing our show is known for is useless facts.
Welcome to Coco Geography.
we provide the useless facts at discount price and pass the savings on to you.
Mental health treatments afterwards are not included.
All right. Well, shall we move on from all of these useless facts?
Yes,
To
commercial
the
break
next
time,
segment?
and then it's upcoming events.
Yep.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCoNation show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Hello, everyone. It's your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCoNation.
I feel like this should have been longer.
The CoCoNation show would like to thank the following patrons: Alex Gare, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Ciaran Anscomb, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Frederick Segard, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Kevin Holloway, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Batson, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., William A. Things. Thank you so much, patrons. If you would like to support the CoCoNation show, sign up at patreon.thecoconation.com.
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
2K Compliant says, "Hi everyone. I'm Chris, a retro computer enthusiast that has somehow missed the Coco all these years, which is odd since I've been collecting Radio Shack stuff since I was a kid in the 80s. I recently purchased a Coco 2 on eBay and it's supposed to be here tomorrow. I've been watching CoCoNation on YouTube for last couple weeks and I'm also in the TRS-80 Coco and Radio Shack Memories groups on Facebook, as Chris C. Thank you for letting me join here on Discord." The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Boysen, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
Okay, what do we got for upcoming events?
Okay, let me get the old screen share going here. That's not the right one. Okay, so the weekend of June the 14th to 16th is a busy one. So basically, if you want to go attend a show, there's 3 different ones in 3 different parts of the states happening that same weekend. First one up is the Bay Area Tandy Assembly meetup, and this is just a single afternoon. And this is the one that they're going to eventually hopefully turn into actual full-blown Tandy Assembly on the West Coast. But in this particular case here, it's on June 15th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the San Francisco State University. There's an online sign-up sheet, which I'm showing on the screen right now, that you can go in and sign up to get into there. And they have a special guest of Bill Hogue of Big 5 Software there this year. So, and they do have some Coco representation there as well. So that's a good show to try out. This is their second year doing it. Next up is Boat Fest, which is the one we were just talking about before the break. And that's at the Social Event Space in Hurricane, West Virginia. And this is June 14th to 16th. And as we were talking about, a fair number of people on the panel actually going to be going to that one, including some first-timers. So this is the 3rd annual one of this show. And it's always a lot of fun, a bit more on the game-oriented side, but a variety of retro machines. The Coco will be doing a few things for game playing on this particular one. I'm bringing a Dicom phaser light gun adapter, and I think Aaron's bringing the actual Sega Master System gun. We'll be demonstrating some of the Dicom games that used it, including Iron Force and Medieval Madness. And I'll also be bringing my 3D glasses for those who want to try Steve Bjork's Warp Fighter 3D and actually get a proper 3D effect, which I did have last year, but I got requested to bring it again this year. So that's at least 2 of them. I don't know if anybody else will be showing some stuff. Since we have all these new games coming out right now, too, I might copy a few of those into an SD card and take that down there, too, so that people can check out the brand new stuff, including stuff from Peter and Erico and everybody else. Always a fun time. That exact same weekend, if you're in the Texas area, particularly Dallas-Fort Worth, which was, of course, the hometown of Tandy itself, that one's also happening the same weekend. So that's VCF Southwest, June 14th to 16th. At the Davidson Gundy Alumni Center at the University of Texas in Dallas. They're also having a Tandy Assembly meetup as part of one of their shows within a show. That's a Saturday night gathering. I know Mark Siegel's already said he's going, and now that we've got other people like Brendan and a bunch of others down there, hopefully they'll get together along with some of the people that worked at Tandy back in the day. One Boise's got a speaking presentation there. Jeff Wires of Chronological Games got a speaking presentation there. TJB Chris has now got one that just got added recently. I think if I remember correctly, they had a video where they were interviewing a couple of the showrunners too, that they were kind of going through some, people that they're talking about, like the big YouTubers panel and stuff, just like they did last year. But there's presentations going basically on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you want to check one of the seminars, et cetera, out, there's a ton of stuff going on, ranging from, mainframes to micros to microcontrollers to hardware and software, all kinds of things are in there. So, and on this particular one, I'm showing the new edition here of Christopher, TJB Chris, who's been on our show before, of course. And I did like the fact that even though he's talking about all the Tandy 8-inch drive systems like the Model 2, et cetera, he actually mentions in his About the Presenter that he's credits his successful career on his first computer, a Tandy Color Computer 3, along with the OS9 operating system, which taught him the fundamentals of Unix-style and Linux-style operating systems and system fundamentals. So that just, got me right in the old heart here. And Mark, you're going. I know Brendan's going to be there, representing the Coco VGA and some of the other projects he's been doing. I think there's another guy from what's his name, Eddie Malfris. He's bringing an entire. I think I'll be covering the news because he actually has a picture of it. But he's bringing this entire thing of all the Coco cousins and stuff together. So it's got video text terminals, including the rarer blue one, all the different Cocos, MT10s, everything else. He has this huge display of all of them, kind of putting the entire Coco family together as one of his presentations. Apparently, he's got multiple tables with different themes at each one. So that looks really cool. You guys have to get some pictures and swing by in the live stream if you can, and give us a show of that. The weekend right after that, if you're near Vancouver, Canada, in British Columbia on the West Coast, is the Retro-Computing Expo 24. That's June 22nd from 11 a.m. till 7 p.m., so single-day event at the Anvil Center in New Westminster, BC. It's actually two shows in one. It's a Retro-Computing Expo and a Retro Gaming Expo. And as you can see on the little card here, they've got multiple presenters, including George Phillips, who does the TRS-80 GP emulator that has been covering Coco and the black and whites. Coco 3 is not in there yet, but the MC10 is, as well as Coco 1 and 2. The Tech Time Traveler channel, Brad Hodge is there, and then they've got a whole panel on the debut, including one of the original engineers that created it. And that was an early networking system that was based out of Ontario and created in Canada that just never really took off, probably because it was a little bit too far ahead of its time, and the networking infrastructure wasn't quite up to snuff of what they were trying to do. If you're on Australia, on the other hand, then you have the Canberra Vintage Computer Exhibition in 2024 here. That is on Saturday, June 29th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it's also a one-day event. It's at the Radford College. They're going to have a wide variety of machines on display. Ian Maverick of the Trash Shockers podcast, he's also makes our Studio 2-packs for the Coco and some other Coco hardware, is one of the people that's kind of helping out from the TRS-80 and clone side. And they did do a live stream about that one. I think we talked about it last week, which is on YouTube. So they kind of talk about some of the things they're doing. They actually went through some of the machines too. There's like 115 different display sections of different machines and stuff going all the way back, the 50s and 60s type thing. So there's a lot of cool stuff at this one too. And Nick, this is quite a ways from you, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit far.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, like, for all the people that we have in Australia that are in the Coco community, I think Danielle's probably the closest to this. Is that right? Or is it a different part of Australia?
He is a bit closer, yeah. He's
Okay.
in Melbourne. So yeah, it's closer than what I am.
Okay. Anyway, I think we've actually shown some stuff from this particular show before. It's an annual thing. And they've usually had a really good mixture of stuff. I remember they were actually doing somebody brought a line printer, was actually printing out banners. People could just walk by the booth and just type in whatever, and it would do these giant letters on, line fed printer paper, and just print out these, 5-foot long banners, and you could just take them. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know if they're doing that again.
I bet they only did that one year.
We'll find out if they do it again this year. Apparently, from what Ian said, because I did watch the interview when they were kind of going through the show, said that was one of the most popular booths because of that, because people miss the old line printer sound, zzz, 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 type thing. So maybe it might be back again. I don't know. Next up after that, of course, is the big kahuna VCF West, or Midwest, sorry. New larger venue this year. That's at the Renaissance Schaumburg Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois, not too far from Chicago, and also the original home of Rainbow Fest back in the 80s. And this is September 7th to the 8th. September 6th, it's actually technically running, but that's reserved for vendors, et cetera, to set up because there's a huge amount of people coming out to this. They've already booked several hotels. There's a lot of hotels in this area because it's a convention area, so there's a lot of places to stay, but you probably won't be at the actual hotel, so you'll have to do a little bit of travel. And there's expected to be well over 1,000 people at this, and a ton of exhibitors. I know some of the Coco people are going too. I believe David Ladd and a few others on this panel are going as well. And if you're going to make one general vintage computer show this year that covers all the different machines, that would be the one to go to because it's by far the biggest and has some of the biggest names in the retro computer community.
I just need to find like a garage under the L to stash my car in for the day.
Yeah, I would they have free parking in this area? Does anybody know?
It's Chicago.
a garage under the L that you can stick your car in for the day.
just get an out of order sign, put it on the roof of your car to just say, I stalled out here, nothing I can do about it.
There's a giant parking lot right outside for the hotels, so I'm assuming that's where everybody parks. I don't know if they cost or not.
1,000 people could easily be 500 cars.
Well, I know it's a 15-minute walk from one side of the parking lot to the other between the two hotels that are in the same parking lot.
That might work.
And they're planning on a shuttle bus to take you from the Far Hotel over to the convention center. So
okay.
Or at least they were talking about a shuttle bus for that.
Because I want to be there, but I don't want to buy a hotel room anywhere in the vicinity and then have to deal with getting from one hotel to the other. And what do I do with the car anyway? I just want to go there and park someplace and do the thing and leave. So,
yeah, because you just want to do basically a day pass, right?
Right, and just kind of have fun and go away.
Yeah, well, if you look on the just take a look at the map and at where the hotel is, and you should be able to see how big the parking lot is.
Yeah, and I've never had an easy time parking in Chicago, and I'm not that far from Chicago, so I've tried to do it a lot.
So, down the suburbs, at least it's not like you're in downtown Chicago.
Yeah, it's not like you're on the loop or anything.
No, you're west of Chicago and east of Elgin, which is two previous places Rainbow Fest and Coco Fest has been at.
Elgin was sweet. Elgin was countryside.
It was far enough out of town that it was almost small town feel type thing. You weren't in the bustle. I think I missed one here, so I'm just going to load it up here too. VCF West, which is August 2nd to 3rd at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, California. This year, as we mentioned before, they're a full partner with the museum because it was separate admissions for the VCF show and a separate admission for the museum itself. This year, it's a single entry, single admission to get into both. And they're still, booking people out for the August 2nd to 3rd. But that's a good one. We've had people like Mikey and MarkO and a few others have actually been there representing the Coco before.
Yep.
And I think Mark is planning on going to this one this year, or no?
I'm hoping to, but we'll see.
Okay. And I haven't heard from Mikey in a while. Have you? Because I've actually asked him if he's going, and I haven't got nothing in response.
Just a few posts here and there, but nothing direct. So
hopefully we'll have some Coco representation there. It's right near Silicon Valley, so there's a lot of cool stuff to see in that area. Next after that is the official Tandy Assembly. Unlike a show and a show at VCF Southwest or the Tandy Assembly meetup in the Bay Area, this is the full-blown whole weekend thing, September 27th, 29th, at the Courtyard by Marriott Springfield in Springfield, Ohio, which is the same place it's been held, I think, since inception, or not quite, but the last few years for sure. Registration is $10 per attendee for Saturday and Sunday. Now, they did announce, and we'll be covering this in the news too, Neil Blanchard announced that anybody that attended Coco Fest and still has their pass or can prove that they attended it will be able to get free admission into Tandy Assembly. You'll save yourself the $10 fee. Now, this does not apply if you were an exhibitor or a vendor and you had a table. You don't get your table for free. It's just the attendance to the show that's free. Now, if you were a vendor table, you qualify for that. Even if you don't have a table, et cetera, at Tandy Assembly, you will still get in for free just to attend the show. So you'll save the $10. So that was a rather nice gesture from them to us. For the people that made it to Coco Fest, that they decided to attend Tandy Assembly, they don't have to pay the $10 admission free. Also, if you have children 12 or under, they're free irregardless. So, and if you want to attend the Tandy Tech Track on Friday, which is a whole bunch of technical discussion topics and presentations, it mentions here that the fee is $30 to cover all 3 days. I don't know if that's included. I forgot to ask Neil that. So, Neil, if you're listening, you can let us know. So we can let people know next week. But just to basically get into the show, which is normally $10 for the 2 days combined, so it's $10 including Saturday and Sunday. That fee is waived if you were at Coco Fest. And the last one I have is if you're in the UK, the Retro Computer Festival is going to be on November 9th and 10th at the Centre for Computing History, Cambridge, England. This is the same place that the Dragon meetup is at. This is the same place that they had the portable computer thing earlier this year, which actually I'll be covering. And this is kind of their equivalent of VCF. This covers all retro machines from the Spectrum to the Atom to the Jupiter Ace to the Dragons to BBC Micros to Archimedes, all kinds of stuff. So general covering of everything, just like a VCF is, where it covers everything. So hopefully we'll get some people from the Dragon community over there to kind of give us a quick fly in on the live show to show us around that one too. The problem there is that because of the time zone difference, usually when our show starts, they're already hitting the pub. So sometimes that gets a bit difficult. And if I remember correctly, they usually shut the museum and the exhibits down when they do the pub crawl thing. So we're just going to get a lot of, loud drunk people coming onto the podcast, which, might be amusing in and of itself. So we'll see. And that's it for these shows.
Okay, here we go.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation. The CoCoNation News with L Curtis Boyle.
All right, so just to do a quick recap here, this morning was the official release of Bob and the Alien Fire Flies by Peter alias 8-Bits in the Basement that we had on as a guest at the beginning of the show. And we kind of showed this earlier for any of you joining late. This is a completely free download from his itch.io page, and you can get the actual direct link from the show notes on Discord. And we also posted it earlier in the chat, so if you scroll back, if you're watching this after the fact, it should be in there as well. And this is both for the Coco 1, 2, and 3 and the Dragon 32 and 64. On the Coco, you can get a disc or cassette image. On the Dragon, it's the cassette image. And he also has a version that you can download that has both the Dragon and Coco versions included and the source code. And this, of course, was Peter's very first attempt at doing assembly language on anything ever. So he's learning everything about Coco hardware from scratch, from the CPU to the SAM to the VDG and how everything works. And it took him a fair bit of time, but he's quite pleased with the result. And it's a fun game. It's an original game, and 1 or 2 players. And it's based on a Atari 2600 VCS version that he did earlier using Atari Basic, which is kind of a basic compiler for the VCS. And yeah, definitely give him some feedback and stuff. It's a fun game. I showed it on the show with him. Was it last week? I think maybe 2 weeks ago. And it's officially out now. It was been tested by Ciaran on the Dragon. Seems to be working fine on there. So go grab it and give it a shot. It's a good game. Next up, Jim Gary did a few things. One's a game, and then one I'll cover a little bit later on the regular news. So his game here is he did an update to his elevator action game, which is based on the arcade game. And he originally released this in 2019. Now, he didn't really mention here what exactly the update was, and I think he was in the chat earlier. I hope he's still there. Maybe he can let us know. I'll play a little bit of the video just so people kind of see what the game looks like. It's a low res, SG4 version of the game, but runs at a pretty good clip. I'm not sure if it's compiled or not. I think it's probably is, maybe, with Greg Dion's compiler. But yeah, as I mentioned, if you're still in the chat, if you want to just let me know what the updates were, because I didn't see any description of that on the YouTube video. Have you tried the original version of this on the MC10? For those of you who have MC10s? Or an emulator.
Crickets.
I haven't tried that one.
Yeah, I played the arcade game. And I mean, this one obviously, it can't fit as many rows of doors and stuff for the elevator shaft because of the, screen size restrictions. But it does look pretty decent. It actually runs at a pretty decent clip too. So,
where's the part where you get stuck in the elevator at Coco Fest?
Yeah, does it get stuck halfway between floors? Does it light on fire? There's all kinds of options that can be thrown in here. I mean, go grab that. And once again, we'll mention, as we did last time, Jim Gary used to host all of his MC10 stuff at the university server that he was at, that he teaches at. And they decided to shut that part down. So he's actually moved his entire library of everything he's done is now on the Internet Archive. And he's got his own whole section in there. So if you search for Jim Gary on the Internet Archive, you should be able to find everything. And it's got, half 500 and some odd, MC10 games, a bunch of Coco games, even some OS9 games and stuff on there. So basically everything's going to be over there from now on. Next up, and we were hoping to have Erico on. You may be wondering, looking at the screen, why am I talking about Erico when we've got a sibling rivalry with Tim and AJ? Well, they're doing Coco, the Savage Sword of CoCoN, which is kind of a take on Savage Sword of Conan, the comic book. But it's a low-res SG24 fighter game with some really good animations, especially for the low-res that it's running at. And this is one we've actually shown a bit on the show before, because Erico has been putting up, screenshots and little video clips, etc. And Tim and AJ actually have a preview copy of the game. Now, the game's not quite done yet. Erico was hoping to have a fully playable version, even a bit above and beyond what they have here. And then he's got some additional stuff he wants to do later on, like adding some sound effects and stuff too. But unfortunately, his work is getting really busy, and I'm assuming that's why he wasn't able to make it on the show today, because he was really hoping to get on. But obviously, the game is pretty close to playability. It's still going to get some enhancements over the next couple months. But I'll play a little bit here of the intro here and let you actually see the gameplay. I will mention this is one of the times AJ actually beat Tim, because it's been a while since she's had a bit of a winning streak. Because Tim has been, a bit better at a lot of the arcade games, and well, she's beat him the last couple games, including this one. So, congratulations to AJ.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sibling Rivalry, the show where I play games against my sister and lately haven't been winning.
And I play with my brother and I kick his ass. The tables have turned, people.
Anyway, I'll fast forward a bit into gameplay here, since you can.
Is going to be the other, and we're going to fight to the death.
I like that title screen, too.
The Savage Sword of CoCoN.
Hit the button, AJ. You're in charge. Hit the button.
I'm hitting the button.
All right. Which one are you?
I thought it was on the left. I'm on the left.
But it runs at a decent clip, good frame rate,
my face is
nice
near my
animations
player.
considering what you're working with here with low-res graphics.
Yes.
I don't think there's any switching. In
I even
this
like
game.
the whole sunset thing in the background.
I'm hitting my sword. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh,
You got health meters on the top as well.
Ooh. Ooh. Look at that. Oh, 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 oh.
But you can see there's no sound right now. Sorry, you can hear that there's no sound right now.
Oh, you're still getting me. Oh, back off, back off. Come on, come on.
The death
come on,
animation's
come on.
pretty good too. I'll just wait till that happens.
Oh,
Yeah.
AJ died.
Look at that. Look at that. Pose. Oh, man, I am posing with the sword.
That one sound effect sounds just like the Coco joystick buttons.
Okay, now for the advanced quiz. Is that a deluxe or a Black Beauty?
Those sound like Black Beauties.
You are correct, sir. You win a free copy of it because I think it's free anyway.
Hi-ho!
Anyway, it looks like a really good game. We don't have a lot of fighter games in the Coco. We've got like Kung Fu Dude and Cum guy and maybe a couple others off the top of my head, Karate, I guess, from Dicom. And this one is more modern style. And, for 64 by 32 8-color graphics, it's actually quite good. I'm quite impressed with it. So good job, Erico. Hopefully you get a chance to get the sound effects and stuff in there too to get it completely finished. But it definitely looks playable now. Just watching it, the only thing you're really missing sound effects, unless he had some other special graphics he wanted to add. So hopefully he'll be able to get a hold of me and let me know when it's actually released. I did check his itch.io page. I don't see it up there yet. So I'm guessing it's not, unless he's releasing it through something else. Hopefully we'll get it out fairly soon here for people to try. This was a rather interesting one. There's not a lot of Coco content, though there is some. You'll actually get to see the Coco version of Sokoban actually running in here. That's the one that was ported by Spectral Associates and was sold by Tandy as a cartridge. And this is called Sokoban and Beyond, the Games of Thinking Rabbit. Now, Thinking Rabbit is the company that actually created it, and it's a Japanese one. And there was sequels and stuff. There was a whole series of games based on Sokoban in Japan. But this goes to the history of the company, the original programmer, some of the ports, some of the sequels. And if you want a general history of the whole Sokoban saga, right from the beginning until, the games that have nothing to do with Sokoban, because they've done a lot of mystery, solving games and stuff like that too later on. It's quite a good history, and they do cover a bit of the Coco too, because they were mentioning some of the official ports that were made and the fact they had so many sub-licenses. If any of you have seen the title page to Sokoban on the Radio Shack cartridge, there's about 5 levels deep of companies that have cross-licensed and sub-licensed and all that stuff too, to get it all down to Spectral Associates that actually did the Coco port. But yeah, I like these history things, so of course I find these all the time, and I just watch them all the way through. If you're strictly into Coco stuff, you probably should just skip to the part where they actually kind of mention it as a first-generation Sokoban coming out. But that's a game I've always liked. There's an OS9 port that I actually had played before I ever saw the Coco official version. But both are quite good, and the Spectral one actually, if you have a Coco 3, takes advantage of it and actually does some extra palette changes versus running on the Coco 1 and 2, but on both, it's quite good. Next up, Ultra Gamer 81 on YouTube did a over 10-minute gameplay video of Pit Stop 2 by Epix, the Coco 1 and 2, and he even showed you refueling. Like, he didn't just do 1 lap, he did a full 3-lap race. For those of you who have not played it, this is one of the best racing games, I would say, for the Coco 1 and 2. I mean, we've got some other really good ones like Speed Racer, Grand Prix by Intracolor, same company that did Robotack, which is one of our featured games this week. It's not one of their better efforts. The steering is horrible in that thing. But this one here actually allows 1 or 2 simultaneous players racing on the same track. You can try to run each other off the road. There's also computer-controlled cars. It's got some musical bits. The best part of the game, of course, is the pit stops. And this is a game that was on a variety of platforms, from the C64 to the Atari 400, 800, etc. And the Coco version holds its own quite well in this one. I mean, we don't have like background music and stuff, but we have, background racing sounds, and you get to go switch tires and, refuel and stuff like that. He doesn't do switching tires here because usually on a 3-lap race, you usually don't need to do that. Technically, you probably don't even need to do the refuel, but if you're doing a 6 or 9-lap race, you absolutely have to get used to this kind of stuff. And this was always fun to play against my brother and try to run him off the road and blow his tires out. So I will play a little bit of it at the beginning here just to show the intro for those of you who have not seen it, and then I'll skip ahead to the pit stop just to kind of show you a little bit of how that works. Great cross-platform game, though.
All of my non-Coco friends played this with me and didn't complain.
Yeah. Multi-voice music and stuff too, so that was kind of cool. For the big software companies, they were a bit late to discovering that capability of the Coco, but Epix did good on that one. Lots of different tracks you can pick from too. There's different skill levels too, so this is a game you can definitely visit, but it's definitely way funner with 2 players. Top view is the red car, and on the bottom view of the blue car, you can see the red car just took off ahead and now has disappeared in the distance. So you're literally simultaneously on the same track. And I'll just skip ahead to an actual pit stop. So anybody who's not played the game will see what that looks like.
Oh, those pit stops are absolutely annoying to deal with.
I don't know. I quite like them. I got quite used to them. The one thing I hated was overflowing my gas tank where it empties it out and you have to start over. That takes a long time.
I just never could get the coordination down with the Black Beauties to go ahead and make it work quickly.
Oh, I guess, yeah, I usually did it with the deluxe fairly early on.
Right.
Oh, that's a finish the race. That's not what I wanted to show. I want to show the actual pit stop.
Sounds like a Chevrolet 2-cylinder.
Or Coco.
I don't know. Maybe a misfiring V8.
Yeah,
I like the fact it actually does double channel sound effects because it's still showing or playing the engine of the second player while you're hearing the refueling sound simultaneously.
Gas run over. Yeah.
The tire changes were a bit awkward sometimes. That took a bit to get used to. Once I got used to it, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, but the fact there were tire changes really made this interesting.
Yeah. And I'll just pause it there for a second, and that'll be the last to show it. But you can see on the blue car on the bottom, you can see this one blue spot on the tire. So there's a cycle of colors from blue to red, and the thickness of it changes as well. Like it'll go blue narrow and then blue wide type thing. And then white. And if you get the widest white, then you've blown a tire and you're out of the race completely. So
yeah,
if you're running into each other, if you're playing two players, simultaneous, you can actually get the guy to run on the edge of the track and also like hit his tires with your tires, with the risk that you're going to blow both of your tires. But if you do it right, you can actually blow the other guy's tires and he's out of the race and you just win.
You can also just force them into the pits.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah, you can run them into the pits when you get near it. So all of a sudden they have to take the time to go back to the car and come back on the pits where they've lost a few seconds against and you're racing ahead. It's quite competitive. And if you do the Grand Circuit, which I think 6 tracks, and then do like 9 laps of each where you have to do refueling and you have to do tire changes, it actually is a lot of fun. It's a quite involved game. It's definitely, to me, a whole other level past something like pole position.
All right, just don't explain the whole tire change thing to your buddy and he'll never know why you beat him all the time.
That's not fair, though. I want to beat him legit square, Nostalgia Vault on YouTube did a couple gameplay videos of educational games for the Coco, and we've actually covered a couple of these in the last month. I think he's done a few other ones too. And I know a lot of us, especially the older ones here, probably never looked at any of these educational games because they're meant for younger kids, and we were already teenagers or adults by then. But these aren't too bad. I mean, considering when these came out in the early to mid 80s. And these ones here, in particular, that he's covering today or this week, are based on Sesame Street. So you'll recognize some characters. I'm sure most of us here have seen Sesame Street at one point or another. So the first one here is Grover's Number Rover, which kind of has a UFO theme. And also different sub-games for different math things you have to learn. Not bad sound effects. Pretty cool graphics effects. Anyway, I won't bore you playing the whole darn gameplay here, but so that one's kind of more math oriented, and the other one that they covered here is Ernie's Magic Shapes, which also has different sub games for things that you can do. And this one, the child has to learn to match things both by shape and color, depending on which particular game they pick. And I'll play a little bit of that one so you kind of get the feel for that. And this is one of the better uses of this palette I've seen, actually. This doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look as hideous as it usually does, the pastel palette.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much the only palette that's going to get Ernie's skin tone right.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could do red or yellow, but that wouldn't look right, yeah.
The pink looks more purple here. It does look a little off.
Yeah, that might be his emulator's a little off. I'm not sure.
Well, you had a tent knob on your television.
The magenta looked more purple.
Yeah, it should be a little bit less purple, a bit more pinkish, I guess. Yeah, that might be his emulator then. Anyway, if you want to kind of see what some of the sub games and stuff look like, you can check out the full length of the videos there. But The Coco was one of the more popular machines for doing educational software for this. In fact, some of the magazines at the time, like the general computer magazines, rated the Coco one of the highest as far as educational programs out of all the home computers at the time. So that was one thing that Radio Shack actually did right, I think. And they were in some schools. They weren't in any of mine. We had a Tier City Model 1 in one of my high school classes in physics, I think it was. But the Coco wasn't there. I used to bring mine in, though, on Fridays, so... Next up, if you guys have watched the Tier City Trash Talkers, you'll know a guy named Stu, and he has a YouTube channel that does reviews of gameplay, but he covers all kinds of machines from retro to modern. But he kind of has done a fair bit of specialization in Tier City Model 1 and 3 games, even occasionally Model 2 games. And he decided to do his very first Coco-based stream here. I think this was actually last night, I think. I unfortunately, I missed the live one, or I would have made a whole whack load of comments. But he decided to actually try one of the launch titles, which is Peter Jennings' Microchess, as it's officially called, but chess as far as Radio Shack was concerned. And it's a 3-quarter. He actually beat the computer. He played on level 3. He shows you like the different palette changes that you can switch, the color of the screen. Keyboard controls, because he was having a bit of issues with the joystick. I think it's because he's playing with a deluxe joystick, but isn't familiar with the fact that with an analog joystick, your position of your selection on the screen is based on the position of the joystick. It's not like move left to move the square left. You move it 2/3 of the way left to move to a square 2/3 of the way from the right-hand side. And he did a little bonus run at the very end. He did Galactic Attack, which isn't quite a launch title, but it's, fairly early on by the image producers.
They just affect how far back it goes.
And he was still trying to kind of figure out, like this one here, this one in Space Assault, when you move your joystick left to right, the position of your ship on the screen is relative to that. So if you have the joystick 3/4 to the right, your ship will be 3/4 to the right of the screen. If you move it all the way to the left, your ship moves all the way to the left. But it's not instantaneous. So it actually has a bit of momentum to get there. So that does take a little bit of use to, especially if you're used to digital sticks, where it's just like you move left, you move right. That's all the control you have. It's not like I want to go 21/64 of the screen over, and you move to position 21 on the joystick, and then it takes like half a second for it to scroll over that far over. But it's basically like a poor man's Galaxian game. And if you actually kill all of the ships before they go past the bottom of the screen and wrap around, you get to Night Patrol, I think is what they call it in the manual. And he actually did that a few times, though he didn't really understand why that was happening. But I'm glad to see that he's actually, I've kind of been bugging him for a fair number of months here when I catch some of his live streams for the Model 1 and 3, saying you should try out some Coco games. And it actually has a Coco 2. It's a full travel keyboard Coco 2. I don't think it's the Tandy T1 VDG version of it. It does have a composite mod, the same one that we showed last week that has the monochrome option. So he does have, fairly decent output, and he can capture it with his capture card easily enough. And he's got some other Coco games too. So I think he's planning on doing some more Coco streams. So I'm going to try to catch them live. And if I happen to know ahead of time that he's going to be doing one of these, I'll try to post it in the game channel on our Discord so that the rest of you can kind of join in on live stream and then put any comments about any games he's doing too. I don't know if he has a Coco 3 though, so I don't know if he'll be hitting Coco 3 games. And he usually likes to try to do stuff he has originals for. Even on the Tier City Model 1 and 3, he's usually has the original taper disc, even if it's third party. So I don't know what his Coco collection like, if he wants to keep doing that, or if he's going to have like a Coco SDC, complete download of the up-to-date Coco library with like 1,000+ games in it. But pretty cool that he actually did his very first Coco stream ever, and he actually covered 2 games. Next up, we have Expert Tech. This is the Portuguese YouTube page that plays Coco games on a Coco 2 with an amber monitor. And this week he plays Zaxsund, which kind of fits in with our theme with Zaxsund. So for those of you who are watching earlier and maybe have never played Zaxsund, though I find that hard to believe, you actually can see what it looks like in compared to the Zaxsund footage that Ken was showing earlier.
1983, fíjense, la mayoría de juegos son del...
In amber.
Amber Portuguese, yes.
Yeah. You can auto-translate if you want to get his... Actually, does have that setting. Closed caption. Auto-generating. Yeah. And you can hear the clicking of the joystick again, Jason.
Yeah, that's not a black cube.
Oh, no pude. Imagínense una pared en el espacio que hay que pasar justo por donde tienes.
Anyway, I do enjoy watching his gameplay videos. I wish he would upgrade to a color monitor at some point, because there's a few of the games he's picked is really hard to see. Like Puyan was really, really hard. But he's played some third-party stuff. He's played some Radio Shack stuff, a lot of classic games. And it's just kind of fun getting his perspective on them, being from a different continent from where most of the stuff launched. Speaking of Puyan, Retro Games did a coverage. He's been covering Puyan this past week for multiple machines. So he's done the Atari 2600 version. He's done the Atari 400 version. I think he just released the Commodore 64 version yesterday or this morning. And he's got the Coco version as well. So if you want to compare them and see how they differ. Sorry?
Look how pink that pink looks. Yeah, that looks more.
Yeah, that's
pink.
the proper magenta, yeah. Now, I guess he could have changed the Ernie's Magic Shapes. If you had a Coco 3, you can change the palettes to whatever you want. So
absolutely,
you could override it with something better. Maybe he did that. I don't know.
I knew I had this thing for a reason.
Huh?
So I knew I had this sheet for a reason.
What's the reason?
To cover my monitor so I can quit looking at this
pastel
color clash of a.
No, you should be wearing eclipse glasses to watch the palette.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. So that's
anyway,
twice.
if you want to compare his different videos there, if you want to see Puyan, the official Puyan, as released in the 83, 84 time frame for a variety of computers and home systems, and it looks like he's still going on them, because like I said, the C64 one was just added. The Coco one actually fares pretty well, except they picked the wrong palette. And I mean, Nick and I have discussed this before. The other color set actually matches the arcade pretty good, and they picked this instead. I have no idea why. I know Steve Bjork always swore that James Guerin was at least partially colorblind, or at least had weird ideas about colors, because he really liked this color set and kept using it. And this is one game for sure I would not have picked this. The other one is almost perfect for the arcade game. Ours would have looked really close to the arcade, except for that. One of these years when I have tons of free time, I'm going to go hack all the shapes and stuff in the original so that a Coco 1-2 can play with proper colors. Chronological Gaming is still covering October of 1982. And of course, if you want to meet him in person, if you're down at the VCF Southwest in Dallas in a couple of weeks, he's one of the presenters and he'll be there. So go and say hi. And at any rate, this week he covered a Dragon 32 game. In this case, Caterpillar Attack, originally by Tomix. This is the repackaged version by Microdeal. And the game itself is pretty well identical to the Tomix version. Now, because the Dragon 32 had 32K as a default, and the Coco, of course, at this time was still having 16K as a common, probably the most common way of buying it, the Dragon version actually added in all the instructions into the program itself. So you don't actually have to have the manual handy. And you get screens and screens of a description of how the controls work and what the gameplay is like and what the goal is, etc. Which is something that they did quite a bit in the first year to the Dragon, where you got that kind of bonus. You didn't need the manual kicking around. But once again, as we've mentioned many times before in the show, the artwork that the Dragon people did was just a lot better than the Coco stuff. And this one, actually, the Coco one wasn't horrible. This is one of the ones that actually did a bit of fancier color if you bought the Antico version, because Antico actually sold this on cartridge as an option for the Coco 1 and 2. And they actually added a little bit of flair to it versus the the Tomix, which is basically the old Xerox sheet at this point in time in 82 when this came out. But yeah, I always like looking at the artwork that the UK people did, because it was just heads and shoulders above ours. And next up, we have a couple from Attempts, a gaming channel by LRU. This is the guy that has been playing a variety of games in the retro sphere that he submits for official high scores. And he covers Coco games fairly often. He did 2 this past week. The first one is Shark Treasure by Greg Anderson of Computerware. One of my favorites. I always thought this was an original game, but I think it was Buck Owens mentioned to me that he did find an arcade game that this is loosely based on. But it's a fun one, and it's always a good one to give to kids or people that don't like the Coco that much, to see them get startled when the shark just jumps and lunges at you and then eats you. Just don't tell them about that till it happens. Just so you know, you just have to go dodge sharks and go pick up the gold bars at the bottom. So for those of you who have not seen it, I think we have played this one already in the Game On Challenge, if I remember.
Yeah, we did. I remember that.
But I'll just kick forward a bit here. And you got flares, so you can scare the sharks to go the other way. And you can only carry 3 things at once, a combination of flares and gold bars. So if you get too greedy, you have no flares to defend yourself.
In the green water.
Yeah. Well, I kind of understand why he did that, because he has blue sky above the boat, and the sharks, I don't know what color you'd pick in this palette set that would look better than the blue. So I think he was kind of stuck. Or you could just assume that he's in an ocean during, you know, St. Patty's Day or something, and they put all the green food coloring into the water like Chicago
Algae
does.
bloom. We call it an algae bloom.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
Yeah.
algae bloom.
But this one's fun. I've always loved this game. I still go back to it once in a while. Anyway, let's spoil it and let you know what his high score was. And the next one he picked was Pegasus and the Phantom Riders, which is a Spectral Associates game that Tandy themselves sold and has one of the best uses of artifact colors that the Coco 1 and 2 had. I'd rank this right up there with Interbank Incident, which is also by Spectral, or the earlier To Preserve Quandic by Prickly Pear Software, because this is one of the ones that uses all the subtle shadings, the yellows,
It
the
is
purples,
a
the greens.
beautiful piece of artwork. An absolutely beautiful piece of artwork.
Yeah. Actually, I'll fast forward to where he's actually close up. You can kind of see here. Because normally we get the blue, the red, the black, and the white.
And that's it.
Yeah. And here they've taken the time to do all the dithering and cross-hatching and stuff here to get like the yellows and the purples and light blues and stuff there. Just beautifully done. Preserve Quantic is very similar to this. Actually, I'd say it's even a bit more advanced color-wise than this. And Interbank, it's of course, as well. But it's also a really good Joust clone with some uniqueness. Like you keep flying closer to the islands. The dragons come out of the caves in the distance, and you can't hit them until they're close enough. So you have to kind of monitor as the shape grows in size, as it's getting closer to you, to when they're on the same plane as you are before you can attack them. So there's some extra 3-dimensional stuff happening as well. And of course, you got that little thing swimming around that shoots fireballs at you too, which, you know, is not in the original Joust either. So this is one that I would actually rank a little bit better than Joust, just for gameplay wise, honestly. Of course, if you want Joust, we have a transcode, so you can actually play the official arcade game as well. And of course, there's the eternal battle between Buzzard Bait and Lancer, which I actually saw in the chat here. There's some votes on both sides again. We won't get into that again. But that's another one he actually played for a fair bit of time here to submit his score, so he got a pretty decent score. But another one we've covered in the Game On Challenge. If you've never played this before, I would highly recommend it. And that's it for the Game On news. Kill that. I will switch over to the main news. Which actually, we got a fair bit this week. Okay, there we go. Hey, as I mentioned near the top of the show, and Mark B mentioned as well, today is our 365th episode. So if you're brand new to the show, you can actually watch one show a day for the entire year, which will take up to 6 hours out of your life each day, depending which episode you're watching. So there's a ton of stuff to watch. And that's not including some of the interview specials and stuff that are not part of the numbered episodes. Actually, we have more than that. But as far as official episodes go, going through the history of Coco Talk and then the CoCoNation. Yeah, we hit our 365th. I thought was a pretty good momentous occasion to be worthy of talking about.
I think if anyone's going to do that, they need to sign a waiver.
Or have health, mental health insurance, one of the two. Actually, since it is a kind of like a day per year or every day for a year, is there a favorite episode any of you guys have from the last 365?
What about that one that was really short?
We've had one of those?
2 or 3
when
of those.
was that?
About every
I'm
couple of
unfamiliar
years.
with this episode. When did that happen?
About every couple of years, we have one that's less than an hour and a half.
Well, I think we already broke that today.
we're just over 2 hours.
Yeah. Actually, they usually average about 3.5 to 4.5, I think, on average these days. I mean, they were a bit shorter back then. Like we usually averaged around 1.5 to 2 back in the day.
First 200 episodes, I figured out numbers from Brian Joyce that came out to about 3 hours and 3 1/3 hours.
Makes sense. That's right.
I think we've trended longer since then.
I just read 60's comment asking like which ones are that short. He goes, the ones you're not on, Curtis.
Oh, hell yeah.
He's not wrong.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
He's definitely not wrong.
I think my favorite ones are the interview ones.
Week after next will be a short show.
Yeah.
It could be.
Right.
Unless I get to, unless we get to live stream from Boatfest, then, Ken, me, and Jason will expand it out.
We'll split screen it.
Yeah, because you'll be coming in from VCF Southwest too.
Okay,
VCF Southwest versus Boatfest. Go.
The dropouts won't coordinate. We'll have something to go the whole time. Yeah, it'll work.
Anyway, I did want to mention, Brian Weezer mentioned that his favorite episode was the deluxe episode we did. That's actually, recently, that's one of my favorites too.
That was good. Yes.
Yep. That's,
and I would also add, unfortunately, these are not officially part of the CoCoNation show itself, but kind of a side thing is Ken and mine interview with Bob Kilgus, the 4-part series. If you've not watched them, you should go watch them on Canadian Retro Things channel on YouTube. And that's related to the deluxe because that's where the deluxe came from, was Robert. So.
And it's another 6 hours, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
That one's only about 3.5 total. I think.
Okay. Well, I guess you get my point, though.
I'm sorry, Curtis. You're going to have to pick a different episode. That doesn't qualify.
Well, then I pick the deluxe one.
Okay.
Or any of the Nitrous 9 ones, obviously.
What about the episode where the Nitrous 9 trash can premiered?
That's Nick's favorite episode.
Yeah,
that was one of his positive reviews.
Yeah, that's
nice
right.
trash can. And since Jason's actually suggested that, and you're up next with your Fairly Amused here, so you got a couple things you put up, or a couple things that involve you, I should say. The first part is that you've actually released CoCoFest 2024 Day 2. Is there any particular part of Day 2 that you wanted to highlight?
Oh, geez. Not that I could say. It's that was.
I mean, right where I have it now, we're gonna hear Grant. So I'm gonna mute it. There, that's better.
Oh yeah, that's Grant's introduction there. Just a lot of running around that day, and I believe it was at the day that David Ladd found some floppy paraphernalia on the free table, and I alerted David Ladd to them, and
and David Ladd won a door prize, I think, in this one, didn't he?
I think that was day one. He won the door prize.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
And here's live streaming or recording Inception, where you're both recording each other.
Yes, that went on. Yeah, that went on for a while, and then it went on again. And
this is the floppy part you're talking about?
There's David getting the freebies. Yeah, he got some I think some labels and some floppy sleeves or envelopes, whatever you want to call them, for the 5 1/4. Oh, and there's AJ from Forgotten Machines, and being his cheerful self, and
yeah, he's always having a good time.
Oh, there's David again with his.
Whoops! Yeah, Bruce Moore showing off his upcoming Realm of Doom, which requires special hardware.
Yeah,
to get full sound effects and music in the background while you're playing.
Absolutely.
It's a whole level up from his original Force to Doom too, so I'm really looking forward to that coming out once the hardware's ready.
Absolutely.
What is he using for the hardware? I forgot about that.
There's an FE3 player chip. I know it was one Steve Bjork and a few others had talked about back in the day, and I think Jim Brain's back to being the one who's going to manufacture it. Hopefully I'm going to remembering that correctly.
Okay.
That's a
basically the code can control
really
which one's playing, when it's playing, etc. So
I think also day 2 was when I visited Brian Weasler's table. Oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
Yeah, that's the nice heat sink that Robert Kilgus made out of quarters.
50
Yeah,
cents would
so
be
that-
a buck
yeah,
and a
that-
half.
Yeah, that was 50 cents in the early 80s. Imagine how much that's worth now.
Well, how much was a heatsink back then? It might have been saving money.
Yeah, a buck and a half at Radio Shack for the heat sink.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Say, saved a buck. 2/3 off. Sale.
And were they a buck and a half for those pieces of bent aluminum with the fins carved in them?
With the little fins on it. Well, they were in the 80s, yeah. Because
Oh my
with Radio
goodness.
Shack, it was on a little card. Yeah.
Feel like we're caught in a loop here or something. I don't remember going back and forth to the heat sink.
You feel
That might have been
okay,
after
Ed?
the drinking started, Jason. I'm not sure.
I think it's been over a week since I edited that video. I'm already working on my videos from Hamvention, so it's
Right.
already went in one ear and out the other. It's just because I spend a good part of several days kind of reliving a particular event, but
I'm sorry.
well.
Brian, of course, brought all that cool stuff that he inherited from Robert Kilgus, including the deluxe that actually had a
Yes, he
ROM in
did.
it that we didn't have before. The pre-production Coco 1 that came out to early developers in early to mid 80 before the Coco was actually announced or released. The Exerterm cross assembler, it's a 6800 based system that runs through a serial port to program the 6809 that Motorola themselves made when the chip was brand new. And a whole bunch of documentation and notes that Robert had done when he was writing games like Skiing and Quasar Commander and calculating formulas for 3D and all this kind of stuff. So it's a good companion piece if you were at the fest to see all the stuff that Brian had and then watch that in mind with what Robert talked about during our lengthy interview with him, where he covers a lot of the stuff in detail. So,
And he had the development machine there that Mr. Kilgus was developing code on there.
yeah.
So
There's the deluxe, and it's all of its bodge wire glory.
Yeah, it's very bodgy.
And of course, the only part of the deluxe Tandy ever actually sold, the deluxe keyboard, which looks like a Coco 3 keyboard, except it's got a black surround instead of gray.
Or the white case, partially.
Well, the white case is basically the Coco 64K Coco case, or in Australia, it's a Coco 2 case, I guess, 64K Coco
Yeah.
2. I love YouTube. No, I don't.
Oh,
This
that's Strikyak's table there, I think.
Yeah, using the CoCoIO, if I remember correctly. Of Rick's. That's when they actually had the head-to-head gaming going on the Spaceport game.
Oh, yeah, we had sometimes we're head by many while I was running around talking to people. Jeez, I really need two of me for these shows.
It's tough. I was actually, there's Mark B.
Yeah,
doing some
at
coding.
AJ's portable
Yeah,
exhibit.
that was the exhibit that was in the hall, not to be confused with the exhibit that was in the main room.
Yep.
Or Forgotten
Right.
Machines was all up. Forgotten Machines had full coverage of the show.
And not in a bad way either, I don't think, because the one that was in the main room was really, the one that was in the hall could attract a lot of people who weren't otherwise going to the show. And the one that was
Yep.
in the main room was like very interesting in that he was resurrecting a terminal that nobody knew anything about.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, that's why it's called Forgotten Machines, I think.
That could be.
And oh yes, there's the Dino Wars poster. I even got the retraction of the Dino Wars poster by Ken there. Caught that on camera. So exciting, but
Yeah, we should mention this is one that Tim Linder created. God, what is it now? 2018 he made it? Is that the first time he brought it out? We're
yeah,
still in
now I believe they brought it out there so Mr. Kilgus could autograph it.
Yeah, and actually, if you're looking
Yeah.
at the screen, you can actually see his autograph.
There she is.
And I actually took a picture of him signing it at his house during our interviews there, which I don't think I posted that on Facebook. I think I've shown on the show, but I should actually post it up.
Aha.
But yeah, it was really cool because I remember when Tim brought it down, I think it's 2018, still at Heron Point, and a bunch of us, got our picture in front of it.
Very cool. And if for some odd reason, if you want to go watch this whole video or any of my other videos on my vlog channel, you can search for Fairly Amused on YouTube, or this domain actually works for me, or you can just go to fairlyamused.com and it will redirect to my YouTube page.
So that redirection works.
That one works. Money, no chance.
I do believe the cocoman.biz redirection is slowly starting to come back up. I've been in contact with the registrar, and they suggested I make a change. So hopefully that change will propagate through now, and it will.
Now, there's a comment in the chat here. Kevin Holloway says, no wedding? Because last year, of course, we had that whole wedding party, got their picture taken in front of the dining room.
Right. Well,
but this year we
signed.
did have some special, and I think I'll let Ken, if he's still around here, talk about that, because I wasn't actually at the show at the time. I was out at lunch with Boise and a few others here, but there was a special guest that got their picture taken with the Dinosaurs poster. Is Ken still there? Paging Ken Waters, Canadian Retro Things, please come in. Okay, well, we'll have to wait. I'm not going to explain the story because, like I said, I wasn't there, so I can't really tell you exactly what happened. So once he's back,
keep the tab up, and you can go back. There you go.
Yeah. I don't have pictures of it either because, like I said, I wasn't there, but there was a special guest. And also, Jason, as he just mentioned, cocoman.biz seems to be propagating. Sorry, was that?
I said I heard my name. What happened?
Oh, well, Ken Holloway asked in the chat here, he said there was no wedding. Of course, last year when we had the Dino Wars diorama there, we had the wedding party get their picture taken next to it. And there was no wedding this year, but we did have some special guests who actually got their picture taken with it. And since you were actually there for that, I was out for lunch with Boise. I was wondering if you want to talk about who that was.
Oh, yeah. I don't have the pictures handy for that, but let's see. We had a couple of musicians in to take a look at some of the stuff that was around there and whatnot. One of them was Todd Hunter, who is a jazz piano player. Generally plays with people like Dionne Warwick, and he was playing with why can't I remember her name right now?
Anastasia, no.
No.
Jeez.
Antonia Bennett.
Right.
Antonia Bennett, who is the daughter of Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
So they were staying in the same hotel as us, and we actually had drinks with them the night before, and they dropped by to take a look at the show and get their picture taken in front of the giant dinosaur picture.
Nice.
Yeah, so rather famous. I mean, Tony Bennett, of course, is a world-renowned singer. He's, sadly passed away recently, but his daughters kind of followed in his footsteps, and is a jazz singer of her own right, has multiple albums out. They were booked in at a club not too far from the hotel for, I think, 4 days straight playing. And they were staying at the same hotel, and they popped by and got their picture taken with the same Dino Wars diorama. So that was awesome. So that's 2 years in a row we've had special guests get their picture taken with this. So I think this thing has to come to every fest from now on.
Right.
I agree.
Bring them in year after year.
I agree. Here.
Who will we have next year? Ken, I should ask you: Are you still in possession of this, or is it back with Brian?
That Brian took it.
Ah, darn! I was figuring if you still had, we could take it to Boat Fest.
Yeah, right. How would I get that on the airplane?
Right.
Well, you're driving down to the
can check
cabin.
it.
Oh no, you're flying from the cabin to Toronto, though, aren't you?
Yeah, and
Sure.
I'm flying out of a small airport in northwestern Ontario in a tiny little airplane that this would I'd have to buy an extra seat for this thing.
A Cessna 172?
Probably one of those bush pilots.
Smaller.
Well, Cessna 172 is pretty small.
Yeah, it is.
Did it have more than one wing?
Did it have more than one engine?
Just kick out the pilot. That'll be a free seat.
The plane doesn't have wheels; it has skis.
No, those are the ones that land by my cabin. Those are pontoons.
This is a normal
puddle
thing.
jumper.
I mean,
The puddle jumpers.
the puddle jumpers have floats.
Yeah. Those are the ones that land near my cabin.
Right.
Actually, Tim is saying in the chat here, Tim Lindner, he says it comes with a shipping case and weighs 49 pounds. So maybe you could
UPS.
got it
Yes.
There you go.
Maybe we should talk to Brian, because actually having that at Boatfest would be kind of cool, because most of the guys there have not seen it in person.
Yeah,
except for Aaron.
Just don't use UPS.
Don't use UPS for anything ever.
No.
That's my motto.
Well,
if you're shipping it UPS, if you're shipping it UPS, ship it today. It might be there in a week and a half.
Yeah.
But make sure it's overnight today. Then it might be there in a week and a half.
Right. Okay.
And where would
I'd never thought of that till just now, though. If you still had it, or if we ran shipping, it would be kind of neat to show some of the people, because we have people coming to Boatfest that are flying in from England and Australia, so that'd be kind of cool to show
Well,
them.
no, that's interesting, because shipment in the States is more reliable than shipment to the States. I wonder how that might be taken advantage of.
I never have problems with UPS shipping things in a reasonable amount of time within the lower 48.
Right. But you have to get it there.
If Brian's got it and he wanted to ship it to probably Aaron.
Oh, he's bringing it to VCF Midwest.
Oh.
So.
Well, that's in the spring, or that's in the
yeah,
fall. We're
be
talking
back
about
in
in
time.
2 weeks. Yeah, it'll be back in time.
Yeah, because it's only like the middle of June, and VCF's what, in September?
September.
August?
Yeah, September.
Yeah, no
That should be
problem.
plenty of time.
You
And
could
if
even
it
ship
comes
it
to
VCF,
Boatfest and
or-
Henry accidentally packs it with his stuff, he might be able to bring it down to VCF Midwest himself.
Yeah, just accidentally.
Save the shipping.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. They could save shipping then.
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to Boatfest not to like someplace where I'm going to wind up with an auction and a backseat full of crap. So,
Right.
Oh no,
there's an auction, and then you'll get a backseat full of crap at Boatfest.
Oh, yeah.
There's tables full of
God.
stuff.
You can put it on top, and put the
yeah, I mean, I don't have a roof topper, but I could probably bungee it, and yeah, that could go badly.
Do you have a hitch?
Just use it as a sail if your brakes let out from not having a clutch.
release the load.
By the way, Brian seems open to that. He said, reach out to me. So I think if we can do it, we should
Yeah,
arrange
well,
that. 'cause
let's
it'd be
get a
nice to
hold of
spread it
Aaron
to
and find
people
out
that
if
are
we
not
can
just
just-
Coco oriented.
Be the traveling display. Yeah.
So get a hold of Aaron, find out if we can ship it to him
Yeah, or boat.
or boat.
Okay, yeah, Brian, I'll contact you. I'll talk to the other two. I know Aaron and Brent are going to be on their show live tomorrow morning, so I can even ask them then. But I'll contact them on Discord ahead of time, because that would be kind of cool. Because like I said, they get some people that are not that familiar with the Coco. Dino Wars was never released for the Dragon, so they don't even know from among the Dragon community.
Bonus
And I
points.
know a few of them have mentioned that they did like the interviews we did. I actually got contacted by a few of them, so them to be able to see it in person, flying in from Australia, flying in from the UK, flying in from Europe, that would be kind of cool.
Bonus points. We get one of those old Radio Shack garage door detector thingies and set it up so that it triggers the sound effect of the dinosaur roaring.
When you walk up.
Which is a nice tribute to Robert's wife, who did those sound effects. So,
Or how about we could just stick Henry behind it with a Coco, and every time somebody walks by, he hits the fire button to make a dinosaur run.
I think you press against one of the dinosaur heads from behind, so it kind of animates the head roaring or something.
Yeah, just tape a joystick to the right behind one of the heads, so every time you press it.
That sounds like the opening to a really good Coco related horror movie.
Is it now? We're having feature creep on a retro
on a poster? Yes.
Well, of course, it's our show. We always have feature creep. What are you talking about?
Ain't it so much fun?
We can feature creep anything.
Exactly. I could feature creep coffee. Actually, I think I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
call
all
that
your
the feature
gross,
creep
disgusting
co-
cream
No,
and
I'm not
stuff.
going to say that because I do feature creep coffee myself. It's called Dark Roast Sumatra Single Origin. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be coffee and spice rum?
That's feature creep coffee. Bailey's, yeah, that's feature creep coffee.
That also sounds like, to me, it sounds absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, putting anything in coffee is just creepy.
Well, I
Oh,
can't stand
thank
coffee,
you.
so you have to add enough of something else for the coffee to taste better.
In David's case, it's to kill the coffee taste.
You flip
know
it
what?
around. You put coffee in the rum.
Oh.
Yes.
I have found
I like-
I've never developed the taste for coffee, and anytime there's someone tells me, oh, well, it doesn't taste like coffee. It tastes like coffee.
It's
Oh, no, it's
yes,
going to
it-
taste like coffee. No
Yeah,
matter what you do, if you've got a coffee beverage,
Well,
it's
Jason,
going to
we
taste
should
like
bring you
coffee.
a coffee crisp from Canada.
Yeah.
Well, what's
Oh,
funny is at Cocoa
Mm.
Fest, there
Bring
was
me an
coffee
Aerobar.
and there was hot chocolate. I went straight for the hot chocolate.
Yeah, I went to the hot chocolate by accident because I didn't realize the one on the left was the hot chocolate. So I filled it up and going, take a swig and like, wait a sec, is this like prepared with sugar and cream or what? Oh, this is hot chocolate, damn it.
You put the
This has no
lime and the
caffeine
coconut.
content we're talking about.
Actually, chocolate has caffeine in it. Naturally.
Not as much as coffee though.
Yeah,
No,
not as
Yeah,
much as
as
coffee.
much.
Like I
But
said, not
fun
worth
little-
speaking about. I want my like 100 microgram or milligrams at least
Yeah.
per cup.
Fun little
I-
fact though, there's a dairy production dairy around here, Hood Dairy, that makes a coffee milk instead of a chocolate milk, but they make the chocolate milk as well. And not knowing that I was grabbing coffee milk, I grabbed the coffee milk and started drinking it. I'm like, this chocolate milk tastes a little bit funny. So it is possible.
Oh.
It is possible to create a coffee beverage that still, you'll notice it tastes like coffee, but it's more akin to drinking chocolate something than akin to drinking coffee something.
Mocha.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well,
Yeah.
mocha contains cocoa, though.
I'm sure it still tastes like coffee.
It does.
Yes,
I'm not
it
going to
does.
say that it doesn't. It will.
64K cocoa.
Now, I love the smell of like if they're like grinding like fresh coffee beans. That's a great smell. I like that, but I do not like coffee. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's like David doesn't either. I know people around here that don't either. So
Okay, Mark Siegel has just mentioned the one time that I will have coffee when it's not just pure good black coffee, and that's coffee ice cream.
I
Yep.
can see that.
I just got
Yeah.
cappuccino yogurt. I haven't tried yet. I'll have to try that too.
So, yeah, that's the only time that you can not have just plain old black coffee. That's if you're having coffee ice cream.
Anyway, Brian Weasler, I will contact Aaron and or Brent and or Boat and see if we can arrange to get that shipped because it would be really cool to do that. And then we'll have to discuss what we want to do later. If we want to have Henry or somebody like bring it to VCF Midwest, or if you want to ship it just to make sure you have it on time, etc., or in case something happens and Henry can't make it.
All right,
But,
shipment insurance. Is
I do
pretty-
want to try to spread the Coco love around so that people from different communities can see it, and the people coming from Europe and the UK probably will not be going to VCF Midwest. So yeah, it would be kind of cool to get it around so that the word of the Coco gets out a lot more. Wow, I wasn't expecting that to last that long on this subject. But
Hey, we've only got 72 to go.
go check out Jason's video and part 1.
Yeah, fairlyamused.com, and that one works.
And as Jason has mentioned, cocoman.biz is slowly coming back on because they had some issues, which I don't think was related to anything you did. That was your original provider, wasn't it, that caused the problem?
It was a multitude of things, but yeah, the store provider had an issue, and then I tried to fix that issue. I tried to go around said issue, and it all kind of went sideways from there for a while.
Sorry, everything like the switcheroo and joystick adapters and stuff are all going to be available that people can actually hit the website, order them, and get them in. Now, Jason, when you come to BoatFest, you're just coming as an attendee. You're not coming to be a display person, are you?
Right. I'm just coming to attend, but if there's something someone wants, they can contact me and I can bring it along. But yeah, I'm not planning to vend or anything like that.
Okay. I just wanted to check. I was pretty sure that was the case, but I wasn't positive.
I like the high-res joy switch.
That's not even a floppy drive, Dave.
Oh, but it could be.
Okay, so here's a rather cool one. I've covered the 6502 show before. It's a YouTube channel that deals with making a lot of single board computers, like homemade type thing. And he's done a couple 68, OX based machines. And here he's doing Flex running on a 6802 based machine. So I'll just play a little bit of the beginning here to kind of get a feel with it. And I'll let you watch the whole video on your own time because it's over 20 minutes. But it's a pretty cool little project here. And it involves Flex, the operating system that preceded OS 9 on the 6809 and 6800.
Hi, welcome to the 6502 show. Today, I've got a 6800 special edition again. I want to show you my adaptation of one of the very first disk operating systems for the 6800, Flex.
This is his own music, so I'm not worried about getting a copyright strike. But he has a lot of 8-bit stuff and a lot of homemade hardware projects.
He has a cat that likes to photobomb his videos too.
Flex was a product of technical systems consultants back in the late 70s, and they continued to develop the program well into the early 80s, where it ultimately became OS 9. You may
That's not
recall
quite
in
right.
an earlier video where I built my own little tiny filing system called Little File. Anyway, that was about as simple as it got. You saved the entire bottom 32K of memory, and that's all you did, the state of the machine. Well, Flex is a lot better. You've got a real file system. You don't have directories, though. There's only the root. Everything is going to live there.
Take to the root one time. Take to the root two times. Take to the root three times. Take to the root 4 times.
But it's still a huge step above what Little File offers. So, as I started in my journey to adapt Flex,
But one of the things he actually does, he actually got the documentation for adapting Flex to a new machine that TSC used to give away for people that want to do the ports. And I actually never actually seen this before, but it's kind of interesting because it shows how to do, you know, display drivers and stuff like that. So I'll let him talk a little bit about that, and then I'll stop playing and you can check out the rest of the video.
DRAMP happened to have a copy of that, and that is exactly what I needed.
While the Flex operating system was originally designed around the Southwest Technical Products 6800 computer, it could be adapted to just about anything that ran a 6800, including a crazy homebrew machine like my own monster. So with this document that they had, and we can see here that copyright 1980, they already anticipated that there was going to be all kinds of hobbyists out there that wanted to adapt Flex for themselves. And the guide provides for everything you need to know to do this. There's some introductory material here, but the stuff you really needed to pay attention to was a console I/O driver, which ended up being pretty simple to write. Then the disk driver package. Now, the whole thing was designed for floppy disks, and having to turn things around in my head so that it worked for my compact flash system, that was tricky. That took me a good week to do that. And then there's some testing procedures you can do and how to bring up Flex and this.
Anyway, so he kind of goes through, you know, in rather, you know, small point form of doing the actual port of Flex to run on his system. Now, he's a bit incorrect that, you know, Flex turned into OS 9. They were two complete separate things by separate companies. There was later versions of Flex that did allow multitasking and stuff, so there was some, you know, going in OS 9's direction, but basically OS 9 level 1 was simultaneous with Flex because it came out in 1980. And Flex originally, I think, came out the first year was 78, I think, for the 1600, maybe 77. And then it kind of went of its own way. Now, on the Coco 1 and 2, because OS 9 level 1 was a bit restrictive, I would say Flex probably was more popular than OS 9 level 1, unless you only went through Tandy, because then you wouldn't know Flex existed. But for the, you know, people that are writing stuff like, you know, spreadsheets and word processors and that kind of stuff, Flex gave you more RAM freely available because OS 9 takes a lot more room with all the stuff it's got in it. But it basically was a pretty decent one. There was hundreds of programs converted over to the Coco. Like Frank Hogg used to have like 30-page catalogs that they'd include stuff like Color Computer News that was just a list of all the Flex software that they had ported. There were screen drivers to run on the high-res screen, so you can get, you know, true lowercase on a 51 by 24 screen. OPAC is, I think, the name of that particular one. So there was a lot of software available for it. And Frank, in one of his columns that was a bit controversial at the time, had mentioned that he tried both Flex and he tried OS 9 level 1 once the official port was done by MarkO themselves, because originally he was contracted to do the level 1 port of OS 9 to the Coco. And then he found out afterwards, nope, MarkO decided to do it on their own for Tandy. He preferred Flex. He said, you have too many memory restrictions and you don't have enough free RAM to write really large programs like some of the stuff that they were doing on Flex already. So he recommended that people buy Flex instead of OS 9 level 1 for the Coco 1 and 2. And when the Coco 3 came out, when you had an MMU and you had more memory and you had the 80 column screen and everything else, then he changed his mind and said, on a Coco 3, go for OS 9. There's no point in getting Uniflex running on that because OS 9 was just more advanced. But yeah, there's a whole Flex group on Facebook. There's a whole Flex FTP server for getting a ton of software. As we mentioned when we launched EOU 1.01, Dave Weens had done a conversion of Flex to run, I think it's version 3 of Flex that you can run as a process in OS 9 level 2 on Nitrous 9. So you can actually run it in a window or run it several times in different windows. And you can actually try all this stuff here if you wanted to give it a shot. But if you want to build your own homebrew computer, this video here actually covers that he got it up and running and kind of shows what it's like to do the conversion and actually set up it on brand new hardware to port Flex over to it. I do know OS 9 did have things like this to tell you how to do the ports too, but you had to pay for them. I don't know if that documentation is publicly available. I've seen a few source code listings that were mentioned, like here's a basic bare bones driver to show you how to write a driver type thing. But I don't think quite to this level of detail has been released publicly as far as I remember. But anyway, interesting video. If you're into Flex, the stuff that Mike Furman was doing when he did his flexing the Coco type series, he did several videos and stuff, covering Flex. Next up, we have Coco Town, who's back to doing, after his being not even be able to win Sailor Man by cheating, he's back to working on his Moon Patrol game. As he calls it here, as you can see on the title page, it's a cycle counting extravaganza, and this is where he's trying to get the scroll speeds and stuff running as absolutely quick as possible, which he covered recently on the 2 episodes ago. And this time he's trying to scroll the gravel on the ground that the rover's traveling across. And I won't bother playing the video here. You can check it out on your own. I'll just play the little intro. So for people who've not watched any of his stuff before, you can kind of get a feel. He's got a good sense of humor about everything on here too. And his game is actually getting better and better and better as he's been going. And this is a game he started as a teenager, didn't have enough machine language skills at the time to finish it, comes back 35 years later, and now he's doing it with all the new tricks he's learned since and tricks he's learning now. So,
hello, and welcome to Game Revolutions, the series where I take an assembly language game that I started in high school and see what improvements I can make now. Although not originally intended, I slowly yet surely am systematically rewriting every line of code. I'm sorry, younger self. I can't help myself. I've learned new ways of doing things, and I want to do those things. In past episodes, I had temporarily disabled some game elements so that I could add double buffering and stack blasting. Then I started to re-enable those game elements, and then I ran into weird performance issues. And in the past couple episodes, I diagnosed and fixed one of the weirdest performance issues. Now I'm kind of on a speed kick, and I'm curious to see what else I can make faster. And thanks to viewers just like you, there are comments that are pointing me to areas that I can improve. And today, we're going to look at one of those comments. I'm going to go through several iterations to see if I can actually follow the comment properly and get some performance wins. Along the way, I'm going to be doing a lot of cycle counting. So if you are a fan of elementary school arithmetic, don't touch that dial.
Anyway, it's really cool. He kind of goes through some of the teams. I will mention that they were suggested by William Astle, Lost Wizard, who created the LWASM package, amongst other things. And there's some more coming further past that. There's even further optimizations coming. So it's cool watching how much he sped it up. If you guys have watched from the first episodes when he ran the original code that he wrote back in the 80s to what he's got now, it's night and day. Anyway, definitely go check it out. Here's the official announcement for Neil Blanchard about getting in for free if you were at CocoFest to get into Tandy Assembly in September. I'll just read verbatim, kind of covering what we already said. Great news and a super deal for Coco enthusiasts who attended the last CocoFest on May 4th this year. Each and every one of you are cordially invited to Tandy Assembly 2024 free of charge. This is no joke. Just show us at the door your CocoFest pass, example pictured below, to obtain free entry into the biggest and best Tandy TRS-80 show on the planet. Think of it as 2 great shows for the price of 1. And I did ask him in the comments just to verify that was just to get the regular attendance and not to actually get like a free vendor table, and that is exactly what it's meant. It's meant to be just to get into the attend a show for free. If you're not doing a table, you still get in for free. If you are doing a table, the admission fee is waived. So if you have any further details, just contact Neil, which you can do on Facebook. He's also got his own website that he does Neil's Hideout and stuff on, so you can actually contact him. There's OL on his, what is it, Neil's Computer Services or something? Or, probably the easiest place to get a hold of him is on Facebook. Next up is another one that Boise's a bit involved with here. This he actually showed at Coco Fest. So for those you who attended, you would have seen on the booth that was across from Mark Marlette, the Phoenix F256. Now, this is a homebrew project that is normally designed for a 6502, and they've got a very optimized, CPLD or FPGA-based 6502 replacement core that runs that much faster. Now, what they've done here, and there's been some questions about this, is they've actually made a 6809 a little adapter that plugs into a 6502 socket. So the pinout is a 6502. This will not plug into a Coco 6809 socket or any other 6809-based system on the planet, though maybe if they get enough demand, they might make something like that. But because it's running on much more modern hardware for the rest of the board, it actually runs, I think, at 6 megahertz. And Boise's been helping do a port of both OS9 level 1 and level 2 for this. And he's got it running right now to the point where it's actually doing, what is it, an 80 by 50 text screen with full colors and stuff like that you can choose. And he's working on doing some of the further stuff with graphics, et cetera, and see if they get some page flipping of windows and stuff like that as well. So this is a video that kind of describes the history of OS9 and Nitrous 9 and how it ties into the a Phoenix F256 project with this new FNX 6809 board that will match the 6502 pinout. And it even mentions that on the silk screen here. You can see for F256 board, 65C02 pinout and 3 volts. So, a regular 609 is a different pinout and requires 5 volts. But they go through a lot of the history. He doesn't actually demonstrate a running here per se. I'm assuming that'll be a future video, but it's just kind of history of both the FNX project itself, and then also Boise's working on getting OS9 level 2 running on it. So definitely go check that out. That's 8-Bit Wall of Doom is the YouTube page that did this video on YouTube. And expect a follow-up where they're actually demonstrating it actually running. This is more of a history and kind of talking about what's happening. Next up, Thomas Cherryholmes, and this I'll get Henry to help with me with this one here. So basically, he's announced for anyone interested in helping test, the Coco firmware is now part of the nightly builds. They can be applied either using the web flasher or the uploaded flasher app 1.4.2. This is, of course, for FujiNet, which allows you to do some networking stuff that is cross-platform compatible with Apple IIs and the Coleco Atom and Atari 8-bits, etc. And since Henry is much more familiar with this and actually has done some of these installs, I will let Henry talk about this.
Yeah, this is actually a very good thing because what we've been dealing with is how to get the Coco firmware onto the FujiNet, and we've only been able to do that either by compiling your own firmware and installing it through that process, which for me ain't that big of a deal, but for some users is going to be a big blocker, or go through the web installer, which unfortunately, though it works, is a bit of a kludge because it takes it forever to determine, at least on my end, it takes it forever to determine what's going on as far as where the serial port is and whatnot. So also with it being in the nightly builds, now you can have that bleeding edge piece of software that you can load in very easily through the FujiNet flasher, which I did earlier today. Actually, during the show, I tried it out, and it worked out really well to just go ahead and get it onto the FujiNet, get the FujiNet booted up under the Coco, and see if it works. And that's what you're looking at with this. Whenever you're helping out with testing, whenever you're helping out with making sure things work, yes, you're going to receive a version that breaks things. Okay. If you're getting the nightly builds, yes, you're going to receive a version that breaks things. If you're saving the nightly builds, then just reflash one that works if you need it to be in a working state. So
this has been more for developers, obviously, or at least people that are testing the hardware.
Right. You don't have to be a developer to use this. Anybody who's going to get a FujiNet that's not already flashed is going to have to flash their ESP32. And so the process of doing this is for anybody. But actually, which firmware you're going to flash, that's going to be if you're involved in testing which you don't have to be a developer to be involved in testing. If you have a 1, 2, 3, 2 with the T2, 2 without the T, or 2 with the T1, 2 without a T1, TDP T100, you know, a TDP 100, whatever the heck that is. You know, if you have any type, or even like if you're testing on the Dragon to see if it works on the Dragon series, anything that has that cart port in the side and has the 4-pin serial port available to it that we can run the FujiNet on, you can be involved in testing. You can be involved in making sure that the thing just plain works by giving the debug logs and things of that nature. And I believe Tom's usually pretty good about making sure that there is a link to the FujiNet Discord. In the FujiNet Discord, there is the Coco channel. Boise Pete's there, Ron Delfo's there. And we've had a lot of crossover between the CoCoNation Discord and the FujiNet Discord as a result of this project. But if you're at all interested in helping to test out with the FujiNet device, this you can do to go ahead and get the nightly firmware on there. And if you need or want a FujiNet device, I do still have some Rev triple aught boards available, and Rev quad aught that goes ahead and takes care of making sure that automatic boot selection is baud rate selection is taken care of, is out there and available to put through JLC PCB. So just get in touch with me if you want to get involved with FujiNet, and I can either direct you or I can get something done for you.
Now, is the flashing itself, is that done through the card itself, or is that done through like a JTAG connector, or how's that done?
So I don't have my overhead turned on, but if you'd like to focus on me,
I can stop sharing just a sec.
Okay. So this is my FujiNet device, if you can see me. And this device has just a standard USB micro B output on it. That USB micro B output gets piped to your PC and you flash through your PC. And this can be flashed either with it in the CoCo, already in the cartridge, or outside the CoCo, powered by the USB port. The two don't interact with each other. They don't cause any problems. The only gotcha is you have to press this button right here while you're flashing, or it won't load under most circumstances.
Okay, so just use USB then. It doesn't use a weird JTAG.
Yeah, it just uses USB. It's real simple to flash.
Okay, cool. Good to know. No reshare. Okay, another little bit of a hardware project that got used in a new way. So Simon Jonason has a PAL-based T1 VDG Coco 2. That's the true lowercase one, but for PAL. And because the PAL board's a bit different than the NTSC, the VDG actually goes kind of underneath the keyboard. And basically, you can kind of see where his cables going. That's where it was. And you could not fit anything that required a bit of a satellite board on the VDG socket, like, say, a Coco VGA or the Super Sprite type stuff, or Super RGB, or whatever it's called by John Whitworth. So John Whitworth had made for the Dragon a little ribbon cable that you can kind of like move and have it mount a VDG that plugs into the socket with just a ribbon cable, which doesn't take that much room. It fits well within the height of the original chip. And then you can actually have this little satellite board. And they never tested it on a Coco VGA, but it does work, and that's what Simon did. So he actually shows it. Here's a bit of a zoom up of the install. So it kind of just does this little very low profile that plugs into the VDG socket. The ribbon cable comes out, and then you can have as much room wherever you can fit it in the case. You just fold the cable to wherever you want it. And where you have room, you actually have the satellite board plus the VDG or whatever chip that goes into it. So you can fit some of these upgrades in now on a PAL T1 VDG that normally would be impossible to fit unless you actually pulled the keyboard out or put a keyboard extender and put the keyboard in your lap type thing. So kind of a side effect, but this was already being made for the Dragon for a couple of projects, and it actually works with the PAL T1 VDG as well. So go get it at Dragon Plus Electronics from John Whitworth's store, and if you have the same model, you can instantly fix that problem as well. So Simon's quite happy with that.
That should work with any 40-pin chip.
Yeah, it should actually.
Oh, you just move random things around. Yeah.
Could be like a CPU, like the 609 is also a 40-pin. I think the SAM's a 40-pin.
Right.
PIAs are 40-pin too, aren't they?
Well, like
most everything important in there chip wise is going to be 40-pin.
Yeah, except for the ROMs, I guess. That's yeah. So if you have any hardware upgrade where your particular model of motherboard can't fit it for whatever reason, certain other things are in the way, then this is a way to kind of get them moved out of the way. And then you can actually fit them.
Center post and a Coco one.
Yeah. So anyway, available on Dragon Plus Electronics. It's John Whitworth's store. We've talked about it numerous times before in the show. If you need to get one, and cool project that's got more uses than originally planned for.
Right. We're all going to buy them out all the time because I
have to bulk buy them and bring them into the States and bring them down to Coco Fest and just sell them.
There you go.
Next up, Brian Weezer. I was hoping actually going to be on the show today. I think he was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he still is. But for those of you that were not at Coco Fest, now you can watch some of this actually up close with Jason's video that we showed earlier for his part 2 of Coco Fest when he actually visited Brian's booth and went through detail. But as Brian mentions here on this post on the Coco group on Facebook, for those of you who are not able to make it to this year's Coco Fest, I had the opportunity to share something really interesting. Amongst the many items I received from Robert Kilgus was a pre-production Coco. Working with me, Curtis Boyle, Tim Linder, and Mark Siegel and Alan Murphy, we discovered a few things out. We estimate the board was built sometime during the second quarter of 1980, prior to the release or even the announcement of the Coco. It has a single ROM with BASIC 1.0 on it. There's a lot of barge wires and cut traces. Robert received the board with no case and had it sitting on the table connected to the Exerterm that he used to assemble some of his first programs. Now, this is not the very first thing that Robert received to program on the Coco. This is the first that actually resembled what the Coco would eventually be. The original prototype he got between 79 and very early 1980 was actually 4 separate boards that were all jury-rigged together, where the joysticks didn't quite work yet and a bunch of other things. The SAM wasn't a chip. It was actually a little satellite board with multiple chips on it to simulate because Motorola wasn't ready yet. But this is the first one that would resemble the actual final Coco, but not quite there yet. So this is actually run using the equipment that the assembly line would use, but just to do a little pre-run just to make sure everything worked. And he's got some really nice pictures of it here. So I'll zoom up on those a bit here. And you can see some of the barge wires and stuff here, but the layout's a little bit different. And if you actually look at the number here, the board number, it actually has a -PP for pre-production. There's a bit of an angled view of it. Now, originally, we thought that the keyboard might have been unique to this prototype because it actually has these little hooks to put them onto the posts on both the top, bottom, and on the left-right. The final ones later on just had the left-right. But somebody, I think last week, it actually brought out that some of the early production run of the Coco 1, like D&E boards, actually did sell keyboards with the extra posts too. So
my D board has this keyboard in it, so.
Yeah, and I can't I haven't had my D board in so long. I don't remember. I don't remember mine having those, but
well, mine did. It came from the Kokomo Computer Club actually. So Don Adams donated it to me way back when, and that's the keyboard that's always been in it. Was with the 6 posts. That didn't go to the end of the D board, I don't think. But anyway, never mind.
I tried to look up to see if maybe those posts had something to do with the Model 1 layout, because the original case for the AgVision idea was the Model 1 case.
Yeah.
So I didn't get that far into it, but I kind of wonder if that keyboard will fit in the Model 1.
Yeah, because originally they had the numeric keypad with a couple extra keys on. That's all they were planning on. They put those first 100 machines up for testing, and then they said, no, we want a real keyboard because you need to be able to type text too, not just numbers. So maybe that was part of the original design to be kind of interim. I don't know.
Think so, but could be.
Yeah, I don't have a Model 1 to look at.
I'd have to dig one out. I don't think that's appropriate. I just think they bought this keyboard at some point, and then they sort of switched to Tandy keyboards sort of around the E board into the F board, and then they went hard on the Mylar keys at the end of the F board, and away we went.
Like they were just some off the shelf keyboards.
Yeah, it just says Japan. It doesn't have any kind of real models on it. So
they did have that company that they owned that would buy stuff from Japan. What was it called? A&A Electronics or Applied Electronics or something like that. outright owned, and they were ordering all kinds of electronic parts and stuff, computer parts from Japan that they could bring in directly for Tandy Radio Shack,
Okay,
but I
where-
don't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Where everything after that has a recognizable vendor. I mean, everything Tandy bought came from, Czech or somebody. It came from, but this one just says Japan. So
So would that motherboard fit in a Coco One case? Do you think?
I believe it does, because it is basically, just about ready for full production, and they were just kind of tweaking the last few things.
Okay, Mark
I don't think
says-
it's too much different. There's just a few, like it's more baud wires, obviously, and it does have the dash PP.
I
Stencil
thought it
on
would
it,
be interesting to see the green screen, if it's any different at all, saying basic.
Yeah, he hasn't powered that one up
whatever.
yet.
He knows
because it was
works,
just laying
right?
loose. There was no case or anything with it. So
So Mark says ANA Trading is our
yeah, that's it.
Japanese
Thank you.
provider of choice.
Yeah, because there's their whole history with ANA, because they ended up buying that in way before the computers came out, because they were ordering other electronic parts for all their electronic toys and things they were selling at stuff too, that they were using that as kind of a wholesale buyer stuff for them.
I'll bet you that doesn't have the holes for the cage they put around the RAM, right?
This is where Brian would be nice to have on the show, because I can't really tell from here.
Remember how they used to do that?
Yeah,
there'd be big
whole-
ones or small ones for different
Yeah, for
boards.
getting down their interference, RF interference.
Yeah, but it's probably not even determined what kind of leaks it had yet, if it's pre-production, right?
Right.
And I'm trying to remember, when did that FCC, when they changed it, like the FCC changed rules, that's why the tier setting Model 1 was dropped, because it would never make it through the FCC's
the thing
revised.
is, they used to certify it as a Class A computing device, which is a business class that can't be used at home. And then the FCC changed the rules where you had to certify it as a Class B, which sounds like less, but actually means a lot more shielding.
Yeah.
And so that's what blew up the Model 1. And the Coco, there is actually a Coco that's certified as a Class A, which sounds like more, but is less again. You need to be Class B to be taken into the house.
Is it true they coated the case on the inside, or they?
Oh, they did everything.
They did everything they possibly could just so they could legally sell it for the home.
Yeah.
Like some other machines got hit with this as well. I'll give you a more recent example. The MM1 got hit with this. That's why they only ever sold in kit form, because they never did pass the FCC approval. And this is like 10 years later.
So it's a kit. Yeah, it's all on the assembler of the kit.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Mark Siegel mentions it was the Yamagata family that ran ANA, and that sounds familiar. If you read the, I can't remember the name of the magazine, but Radio Shack had an internal magazine for employees that did a lot of stuff like what's happening and, who won what awards at what store and that kind of stuff. But they had a whole couple of articles on the whole ANA thing and went through in detail. And Boise and Bill Guidess' book also goes through some of that as well. Brian Weiser does mention, he said, no holes for the shield over the RAM. He says he needs to tone out the board before I will power it on. I think he means test out.
Yeah, no shorts or anything. Yeah.
Here's another question: aren't the early boards? Don't they all have the RAM have those gold plates on the top? Also,
That was a mix. I mean, even some of the ones sold by Radio Shack had those. It just depended on where they got the chip source that particular day for filling up.
Are those ceramic right there? That RAM?
No, they're what they had that week. This is a prototype. This is not. It has.
It's not
RAM.
a prototype. It's a pre-production. This is way past the prototype
pre-production.
stage.
So it has RAM. That's all you need to know. Who knows what kind of RAM it's going to have next week? But this week, it has this RAM.
Yeah, because I mean, literally, I've seen C and D and E boards that have the ceramic packaging versus the packaging you're seeing here, which is a bit more I guess, more modern style.
You'd think
banana
they were, but
RAM.
more
It
expensive.
just depended on what they
probably.
got their hands on at the time.
When they sold it, what could they buy cheap that week is what went in it. But when they pre-produced it, what can we buy fast this week is what went in it.
Well, what is the gold square on those chips?
That's a ceramic chip with a
tape. What does it mean? I mean, does it mean they're high quality chips, or they're passed with quality, or Is it the $34 chip? Back
This
then?
is the old school ceramic chip with the heat thing on top, and yeah, it's like how they
It's
used.
just what the foundry made that week.
Well,
or
and
what they were
it's
capable of making.
they had to pay up for these. This wasn't they paid up for these two 40-pin chips here. This wasn't something that was available.
So the one toward the back is the processor, and the one toward the front is some.
Yeah, Brian's saying in the chat here,
Bam.
I'll just update you because he's actually been responding to all of our comments here.
Oh, okay.
He says that he'll be bringing it on the show in the near future, probably when he gets a chance to test it. Mark Siegel says that's why I never had the TRS-80 as a home computer because the FCC stuff.
Oh, the Class A and yeah.
Brian says it does have the big hole in the middle of the board for the case support.
Oh, that's
he
good.
said the CPU and the SAM are ceramics. That's the two chips you're seeing there with the kind of purplish gold. And then Mark says ceramic is low production quantity, so it's more meant probably for prototyping or pre-production runs that you're not doing a huge quantity. But they did end up selling some of those in commercial, like the actual production run Coco ones. So I'm assuming they had to buy still a fair bit of them and then once they got the pre-production fixed up and not as many bodge wires and actually started full production, that they would have just used whatever chips were lying around, just use them up because you paid for them. Why wouldn't you use them, right?
Right, burn them up.
Yeah. Well, the RAM chips you shown in the picture there are actually the ceramic tops. Also, they're just not purple.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
They're just not fancy.
Right.
Yeah, I can't really tell. It's a little bit blurry here. So
the other thing
that's
is,
as far as I can zoom.
There is a outline around the area there where the can would be.
Oh, where the tin's gonna go. Huh?
And you can see little filled in. It's like the pegs that the shield would go are filled in with solder.
Like this here and this here.
Yeah, because when they went to later production, they used bigger holes.
So they could use the push. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones you just push in and fold over. Where this one, if they put a shield on here, it would have to have been soldered. Probably have to be soldered or use the really thin little pins.
Very, very carefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian mentions he does have a D board with a ceramic CPU in it, so that actually was sold by Rishak Ceramic, and I've seen those before too. Anyway, once he gets a chance to test everything out, make sure nothing's going to blow up as soon as he plugs it in. He'll come on the show and he'll give us a bit of a demo. We did dump the ROM, I think, if I remember correctly, and it's identical to the released 1.0 color basic ROM.
Okay.
And you'll notice there's an empty socket where the extended basic was because Microsoft didn't have extended basic ready until the end of the year. It's a little bit late.
So you think that was actually, if you put a extended ROM in there, it would work, or is the
It should. I mean, I don't think they had to change anything there. That was basically just mapping in an extra 8K at 8,000. So. Here's what I was talking about earlier. So Eddie Malfris is going to be at the Vintage Computer Festival Southwest, the one in Dallas, June 14th and 16th. He said, if you'll be in the Dallas area that weekend, you should check it out. Several Coco-related exhibitors, vendors, and speakers are scheduled. And Brendan Donahue of Coco VGA fame is one of them. But here's the Coco section that he's planning on doing as one of his exhibits, because he's actually doing multiple ones. But you can see, you might notice the Brian Weezer has shown this off before too, but that's a 64K color computer one with the white case with a Coco cooler attached to it. He's got a later model gray Coco one here with the centered badge, no RAM badge. Here's an older model Coco one, actually signed by Jerry Heap himself, with the RAM badge. Oh, actually, that's a Videotex. That's got the actual LED light there, I think. Zoom this up. Yeah, I can't do it. So that's an actual Videotex terminal with the original Coco One style case, the gray version. Here's the AgVision blue version of the Videotex. And he's got a color computer 2 with the Radio Shack label, but the full travel keyboard. So that's pre-T1. Here's this one actually is a 64K color computer 2, I think, but with a Coco 3 keyboard inserted in it. It's got the actual MC10 here. He's actually got the Alice as well. So you can kind of compare those side by side.
Coco 2 on the left side, is that not the deluxe keyboard?
Yeah, yes. Black. You're right. Yeah, F1, F2, and the black background. So that's actually got a deluxe keyboard that Radio Shack did sell separately for $39.95, if I remember correctly.
Man, it's $5.
He's got a Dragon 32 up over here too to show one of the cousins. I guess this is actually the Coco 3, not the T1 VDG, and then a TDP 100 for that, which is a bit of a rare one. Terry Steggy, of course, has several of these, and I think a few others here probably have them as well. So that's one of his displays. He's doing some other TRS-80 related displays that are not Coco based as well. So a lot of cool stuff to see at the show. Next up, and this is kind of intriguing. I don't know exactly what he's doing here, but he kind of hints that eventually we'll have something to do with Coco. So Chris Burke, who of course was the head of Burke & Burke that sold the XT hard drive adapters, and he sold the Port of Cyrus chess ROM pack to level 2 OS9 with full high-res graphics and XT ROM. He did DOS thing. He did utilities. He did the dagger patch. He did a whole bunch of stuff anyway. He posted in the Motorola 6809, 609, 6800 assembly language programming channel on Facebook. He said a serial, and I think that's Grant Serial did the 609 board that he's referring to here. Is it a serial style 609 board converted to 609E because the 609 has the internal clock, E has the external clock. The Coco uses the external, as does the Dragon. Using the adapter board from Retro Kids and a tiny XLH 730 external oscillator. The oscillator is needed because the adapter board doesn't work well with a crystal. Why? Because we can, and because I was doing some 6809E in-circuit emulation experiments and I didn't want to risk blowing up a color computer. So I'm wondering what exactly is he doing with the Coco here that he's fiddling around with this kind of stuff. So in this case, you'll see he's got a 3 megahertz rated Hitachi 6309 chip installed in here currently. But I'm kind of curious what is he up to?
Right.
So I didn't pressure to ask him. I'd like to be surprised with everybody else. So looking forward to see what he's got cooking for the Coco here. And he did a whole bunch. I mean, he actually had an XT adapter board, the same one I used for the XT hard drive adapter, working with a Logitech ScanMan. So you'd actually like the old roller scanners that you pulled across with your hand. He actually showed it off at one of the Rainbow Fest back in the day, but there wasn't enough interest, so he never did finish the drivers for it. But he's done a lot of stuff for the Coco since the late 80s right through until they quit selling it. Next up, Tim Limner was in the chat earlier too, and this is actually a project he's been working on. So it's based. I'll tell you what it is first, and I'll tell you what it's based on. So basically, this is a online 609 disassembler package that you basically go to the web page, and then you can dump a raw binary, which is just the raw code, like from a ROM or something, or you can do a disk basic file, which has a little 5-byte preambles and postambles. And basically what it does is it'll take a file you drag to. In this case, I dragged, what game was it? It was a small game cartridge or game file, and I can't remember which one I picked out here, and I don't think it actually shows me which one I browsed. Oh, here it is, Blasterbit. So this is Star Blaster, the Asteroids clone. Oops. And basically it does a disassembly here, and you can actually kind of go through it. And it is the one thing he's trying to get working in this, and he's got mostly working now, is that it will actually try to figure out on its own code paths based on branches and stuff, so it can actually figure out one of the banes of anybody's done disassembly by hand or just doing a disas and then trying to fix up the code afterwards, is that you might get mixes of data tables with some code, then some more data tables and some more code. And most of the time the disassemblers screw that up. It'll try to disassemble data as code, and then you get all kinds of wacky results or vice versa. And his actually will try to trace through some of the branches and stuff to figure out what is data, what is code, and it does a much better job on a first pass of getting all this stuff figured out so that you have less work to do to get a fully working disassembly. It's not perfect. Like if you do the little tricks, like if you use a compare X opcode to skip 2 bytes, for a branch or something like that, rather than doing an actual separate branch instruction, it doesn't catch that kind of thing. But it does catch a lot of it. So you can actually see a lot of it, properly coming out and being correct. So to cancel this here, let's just scroll through. But it basically does a full 609 assembly. You here it figured out this is data. And you can actually see some of the text here, like he's spelling out the word Star Blaster. So it actually figured that out correctly. They figured out that this is actual data, not just code, even though it's in the middle of other code. I did find a few spots on certain binaries where it does mix up, and it depends on how the thing is structured, but it does a pretty good job for a first pass. And he's still working on it, so I mean, there's more to come here too. I can see a little bit of an error here. I think there should be a comma here between Y and X for this stack blasting. Work in progress, but definitely a good solid first shot at it, where it'll save me a lot of time trying to disassemble stuff that is mixed all over the place. Some people program where all the data is like at the end of a ROM or the end of a program and all the code's at the beginning or vice versa. But if you want efficient code that is the smallest and fastest it can be, you're going to be intermixing it constantly. So you can use like 8-bit offsets, not require 16s, etc. So it'll be really handy on disassembling this kind of stuff. So that will be at macmess.org, which is his site /follow9, the number 9.html. And you can give it a shot right now if you want to do some testing on it. And if you didn't memorize that URL, you can get it from the show notes on the Discord. Next up, Tim Gilberts, who has actually been a special guest of ours on some of the Dragon Meetup shows. He attended the Computing on the Move, Evolution of Portable and Mobile Computing, which is one show at the Cambridge Center for Computing History in the UK. That we've been mentioning the last couple months that they were doing a special on portable computing, basically the history of portable computing. This includes pocket computers, including the one Tandy did, to the Model 100, Model 200, to compact luggables, to the Mac luggables, to modern laptops. And it's kind of a history of that. And he attended the show, and he released a video that's over half an hour long here, kind of going through the exhibits, who was there, who brought what type thing, and a lot of cool stuff in here if you want to go through that kind of the history of.
So it's a laptop, portable. So starting with the actual apricot, it's I got a bit of video of the keyboard as well with this display with soft keys on, but it was an incredibly good quality.
And of course, this being a UK based show, you're going to get a bit of a UK slant on some of the portals we never saw here in North America. So, really cool. There's a lot of really cool, interesting stuff in here. Tandy's mentioned multiple times as well, because of course they popularized the Model 100. Even though it's based on something, was it Samsung did that? I can't remember who did the original design for it, but basically they popularized it. And sales took off like crazy. Reporters were using them well into the 2000s because the battery life is just insanely good. But yeah, if you're into the history of computers, like a lot of us are, this is a very cool summary of that entire show that happened in May. Next up, another Jim Gary. This time it's not a game. So we got a couple of MC10 related stories here. One's Jim's. So he did this little program called Flags that he originally did in 2021. And he's expanded it to have up 17 flags of countries and states, etc., that are drawn in the low res graphics. But he also has a bit of tune. So for a few of the countries, he actually plays a few notes of their anthem or a popular song from there. So it's kind of an interesting take. I'll play just a little bit at the beginning. I won't play the whole 2 minutes. 2 minutes. What the hell? I'll just let it rip. And you can see he's got an option for going through them all automatically, which he actually selects here. Should have made this a quiz. You guys can figure out which countries are which ones. I mean, some of them are pretty easy. They're just stripes. Semi-graphics handles that just fine. And I think it's about halfway through where he starts getting some of the ones where he plays little bits of the tune. A little bit of political messaging on the bottom there, too. There's the first one with a bit of a tune. Hopefully that came through. There's the German one with a bit of tunes. That's Quebec, I believe. If you use a Coco Fest, you recognize a Canadian anthem. Bruce Moore singing it. Anyway, I'll let you guys watch the rest of it when you want. But nice little program. Doing low res graphics to do all these flags and a few little bits of tunes in there too. So. And once again, if you want to download the actual program for this, you'll have to go to his new place on the Internet Archive, where you can just search for Jim Gary, and everything he's pretty well ever done is on there. It's no longer at the old address. Next up, Tim Halloran, who's a somewhat regular guest on the TR City Trash Talker show. Is actually doing some stuff the MC10 as well. So in this case, he's talking about the Pi Key 10. which I think we've covered before a few months back. And basically this will let you hook up a modern keyboard to an MC10 while leaving the old MC10 keyboard still working. So you can actually use both keyboards simultaneously. And I believe this is Brendan Donaghy is selling these, if I remember correctly. I think he had them at Coco Fest. I can't remember. I didn't get a chance to talk to Brendan all that much this year, so I didn't really see all what he had. Can one of you verify, was he selling Pi Key 10s at the Fest? Or showing them off at the very least? Nobody? Well, in that case, I'll have to play this so you guys know what the heck I'm talking about.
Hi, quick video on a add-on I got at Tandy Assembly.
Is that loud enough? Or?
Last year, and I've been having a good time with it, so I wanted to do
I
a quick video
barely
kind of
hear it.
showing it off. It's not for my usual Z80
maxed out, so
work,
hopefully you can hear
but
that.
It's actually for the MC10. It's the Pi key. It's really cool, so I wanted to spotlight this. I'm not going to talk about what is an MT10 or how it's historically significant. There's lots of cool videos about that, but just kind of show off what I've been doing with the Pi key, so that's it.
So here's my MC10 with the riser with the Pi key installed. You can see the USB coming out, and there was a couple of joystick ports. So I've got the keyboard attached. The nice thing is the old keyboard works fine, so I'm actually going to try and type print in on both keyboards, which is a little bit tricky. But also the stand-up that came with it for the MC10 lets it kind of sit right near there, so you can see all the shortcut keys and all the graphics keys. So I've got print, and I'm going to print out the memory. I don't have any extra memory, so it should be just 4K. There we go. Normally you wouldn't use both keyboards. You use the full-size keyboard that's attached via the Pi key. So I want to demo that. I booted it up. The screen looks much better on this video than it does on real life. I just have the tuner, but it's legible. So I can make a little basic program that prints the memory. Well, first clears the screen, then prints the memory, and then says how many, gives it some units, bytes. Then we'll do on the MC10 and try out the program. Very easy to type with the modern keyboard, really nice. Oh, I can use the print shortcut rather than the typing. I don't forget about that. But you can do it, it works just fine. All right, we can try our program out. Looks good. And we can use a line graphic with the shift key. We just have to figure out which one it is, which I look over at the MC10 standing up on its side and figure out which graphic to use, which is really handy. That's a nice thing about kind of tipping it up and being able to see it from there. You can see all the shortcuts on the keyboard there, which is nice. List it and run it. So that's great. The Pi key has some special commands. If you type like Windows V on my keyboard, you can see like what mode it is. It has a couple different keyboard modes, touch type and things like that. I'm just showing off my MC10 books. I've been going through the book. This makes this computer so much nicer to use. Highly recommend the Pi key.
Sorry, that's I'm pretty sure that's Brendan that sells that. So if you want to see them in person, you can actually check it out at the VCF Southwest in Dallas, coming up just in a few weeks. Next up, we're getting into some Dragon news here. So Rob CFG, and I can't remember his real name. I did know it at one time. But he posted a picture here of a fully assembled Dragon beta board, because they've been doing like Pedro has been doing. They've been trying to duplicate some of the Dragons that never got fully manufactured or were only prototyped, like the Dragon Beta, the Dragon Alpha, the Dragon Professional, etc. In this case, this is a fully populated Dragon board. He says he needs to make a video cable and probably use my trusty Meanswell PS2 to power it, fingers crossed, but he's got all the sockets in, all the little parts in, all the chips are populated. So it'd be really cool if we can get this up and running so we can actually get a brand new Dragon Beta for the first time since like 1984, 85 when the original prototypes were made. And see how well it works. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't think there's been an update since then at this point. So, well, I'll keep you posted as I hear. Another one, and Ciaran can probably talk about this a little bit too. So there was a question from one of the Dragon users asking about possibly using the duplication of the MIDI boards that we had on the Coco that Jim Brain now sells, called the MIDI Maestro. We've covered it on numerous places where it's compatible with like Lyra/Lyra. It's compatible with the Color MIDI 3 cartridge, compatible with Altimuse 3. And they was asking, like, if I got one of these MIDI boards for a Dragon, is there any software to use it? And as far as everybody in the Dragon group had been mentioning, nobody remembers seeing a port of any of the Coco MIDI capable programs being converted to the Dragon. And then Ciaran found a reference to one that was actually written for the Dragon in the first place. It wasn't a Coco conversion. And this was called Mid-Iv 10. It was really written by somebody named Ian Jones, and there's actually some of the code they've looked here. And as they mentioned here, the code is writing to port FF74 at FF74, I should say, as if it were a control port, and FF75 like a data port. And of course, MIDI is basically a serial with an oddball baud rate. It's basically just standard serial port. So if this, I can't remember what the MIDI Maestro actually maps to, but maybe they may be able to patch us even if it's at a different address, if the same type of serial chip is used, that you could actually get this up and running on a Dragon. Kind of curious if that's going to work. Ciaran, do you know if anything further has been found out on that at this point? Because it'd be kind of neat. I didn't realize the Dragon never got any of the MIDI port stuff we had, because we had several Coco 1 and 2 MIDI things. There was Speech System sold some, multiple ones actually, starting at Lyra, and there were some other ones that were dedicated just to MIDI, and right on through to Coco 3 stuff. But kind of curious to see what they did across the pond here with MIDI with this program by Ian Jones. Next up, we've got one from Julian Brown. He did numerous update posts on his Dragon ATX project. And this is one of the later ones here with an actual picture of the board. Now, actually, this morning, he sent me some detailed notes of exactly how far he's gotten at this point. So I'll read that verbatim as I zoom up his thing here. So let's zoom up a bit more. And you can kind of see the name of it here. So I will read the current spec he's got. So he's calling this the Dragon Rev X4 Plus Kitchen Sink Edition, which I thought was a really cool name. And he said the ATX board is fab ready, but still being checked. SAMX VHDL is baseline for the current spec to get the current board up and running. Current spec, and this is where you get into the stuff that's, the kitchen sink, going beyond the original Dragon design that he was originally duplicating. Kind of like Pedro's been doing at the Coco 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so Flex ATX size motherboard to fit any regular mini or micro ATX case using the ATX power supply. It has a single speed CPU with regular fast mode, 64K of SRAM, so static RAM, not dynamic RAM, out of the 4 meg fitted, 128K of video RAM address space, so expanding what the VDG can reach out to, 16K of ROM out of 512K fitted, plug-in video option, plug-in audio options. 4 MPI ports are built right in. You can see that on the left of the diagram here. I should mention the video options are like for PAL and NTSC, but it has a little daughter board type thing, so you can just swap which one you want to use. It's not built right into the main motherboard, so you can make it easy to switch between the two. Joystick cassette ports migrated to mini DINs. So just to take less space, I guess, and then you can, of course, make it an adapter if you need to. The joysticks upgraded to handle 2 fire buttons like the Deluxe Coco and the Coco 3 does. So full 2-button support. Serial Star 32 from the Dragon 64 is in there. Optional PS2 keyboard support. So if you want to use an actual PS2 keyboard instead of trying to hunt down a Dragon or Coco compatible one, you can do that. Target spec that's different from the above. So this is his future plans he's still planning on doing. Double and quad speed CPU and smooth video fast modes. This will definitely be helped by the static RAM because you don't have to worry about dynamic RAM refresh, stealing some of your CPU time or cycle time. 1 meg of static RAM out of 4 meg fitted. 2K page size for RAM with 2 tasks supported. So that's kind of doing the equivalent of a gimme as far as the MMU type stuff is going, but with the 2K page size instead of 8K. 120K of video RAM address space, 16K ROM, page out of 512K, plug-in audio options, and he's got some asterisks. We'll get into the details here shortly. Generic expansion port, 1 or 2 depending on the main board side. So first note here is on the 1 meg RAM out of 4 meg fitted. He says, if I can get the mapping to work at the 4 meg size, I will. Maximum address space is 16 meg. It may require a larger CPLD to make this viable, plus the Xilinx chip specified is no longer made. A lot of people have hit that kind of stuff recently. RAM page lookup will be from memory, although the current map will be held in registers, so only need access while switching tasks. The 16K ROM page out of 512K special note is ROM will be paged at 8K boundaries and can be mapped into any of the regular ROM-based addresses. Finer range paging is possible and potentially to any point in the 64K memory space, ignoring the last 2K. I'm aiming to make the ROM writable from in-system, allowing for either a RAM drive without batteries or sideways RAM. Writing of the flash ROM is performed by the SAM, not the CPU, so this requires the introduction of a blitter function. That's kind of lit up my ears. There's a little asterisk on the plug-in audio options. The second, third, and fourth expansion slots have 2 PIA blocks associated with each, selected from the PIA1 address space of FF20 to FF3F, and further mapped RAM bound to 4,000 or 40,000, 80,000, and C quadruple 0 hex. So that's way beyond the 64K range, all subject to getting the RAM paging working nicely. So that's his kind of future plan updates there. And we'll just keep following that because he's been doing a lot of cool stuff with that. And yeah, basically this will fit into basically a standard modern case with a multi-pack built in and a whole bunch of extra options, extra RAM, extra video RAM, MMU, memory paging, and all kinds of stuff added in. So looking really cool.
Right, a Coco back panel on one side and a PC back panel on the back side. What can't you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been talking with Pedro and others too here, with the Gimme X or Gimme Z, being built into one of the Coco 3 motherboard style designs that Pedro's already done, that you can actually, instead of having all these, plugging this weird adapter board into the Gimme socket itself, it would just be part of the motherboard. And then you can start expanding what the Coco 3 can do and what kind of options are available on there too. So that's, yeah.
And then if you want to fold in like a old PC graphics card or something, well, you have that bus.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Coco bus for Coco. Yeah, this is really a cool concept.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's cool that we have so many hardware chips, including yourself with the CoCoIO, getting all this modern style hardware running. So we're expanding it, but still keeping the original, mostly compatible and specs of the, or not specs, but the hardware base of the originals without going completely to an FPGA where it's basically just a hardware simulation of an old machine. You still got some of the old chips on here that you can actually talk to.
Right, that big old one chip that has a proper model is, I bet, the 40-pin CPU right there in the middle of the donk.
Yeah, and he's planning on supporting the 639 running at 3.5 megahertz. So
rock and roll, all right.
Kind of, or 3.58, I guess, basically, 1.78 times 2. So. And the last one I got, we've actually interviewed him before too. Stephen Goodwin, who wrote the book 20 Go to 10, which is kind of a history of microcomputers, etc., but based on numbers. So he did that kind of quirky writing style where you'd pick a number and see how it matched to a history of a certain computer, whatever. And this was one he did at the Computer History Museum, actually, in the UK. We did a presentation, and he picked a few choice bits out of the book to talk about. And on the screen right now, you can see some stuff on the Jupiter Ace, which is the 4th base system that was sold in the UK. Didn't sell all that well. But he's finding like some of the interesting things he found. And he actually did a whole section on the Dragon here. So I thought I would play that section. And that's the last news story we have. So this kind of closes us out. And pretty interesting stuff.
Our next machine is the Dragon 32. If I use my best Richard Osman voice, well done to those of you at home that got that right. Although I am reliably informed he doesn't do pointless anymore, so my references, like every person of my age, is probably slightly out of date. So the Dragon 32, wonderful machine, but what do we know about it? Well, the things we generally know about it, it's a cousin of the Tandy Coco. It's not a copy of it, it's not a rip-off of it, it's a cousin. Both the Tandy Coco and the Dragon 32 use the same standard reference spec from Motorola. It uses the 6009 processor, very nice processor for its time, uses an implementation of Microsoft Basic, and it likes the color green. Which color green? That one. This was the primary green color that you would have on your dragon, which means if you had a game, it would look a bit like this. Not overly pretty, I think you'll agree, but it was its thing. Eventually, people worked out that they should use the black and white mode, P mode 4, so games would look like this. This was not uncommon at the time. Even though machines could support many colors, if they looked a bit naff, then you just wouldn't do it. The ZX Spectrum, famously with its attribute color clash, programmers realized that if they had the main characters as monochrome, then it wouldn't clash quite so badly when they moved over the tree. So the red character wouldn't turn the tree green, wouldn't turn a green tree red, and the green tree wouldn't turn the red character green, for example. Dragon programmers did the same thing. They said, we'll go to the higher resolution, we'll make it black and white, and that will improve the look of our games. And it did. A lot of people end up playing their Dragon games in this black and white mode. But since we're on graphics, what's the most interesting thing about the graphics? Well, this is the code, and you don't need to worry too much about this, which is used to set up a graphics mode. You're setting up the screen address of the location in memory you want your graphics to be stored, and you want to set up the mode. And it is storing the value of A, whatever is in the A register at the time, into a set of memory locations. What is interesting is it doesn't matter what is in the register A. You can write any value to these addresses, and you'll still get the correct result. This is because when you're selecting the screen mode, you've got to configure two different chips. You've got to configure the VDG via a port, which is port FF22, and you have to program the SAM chip, which uses addresses FFC0 to FFC5. Well, normally when two chips communicate, they're going to do so across a data bus. But if you don't put a data bus in there, you're going to save a lot of money on the manufacturing. So all you need to do is look at the address bus. If the top bit of your address, if we're storing to FFC something or other, say, then that is going to a particular part of your screen register, an internal register on one of the chips. So you then look at the least significant bit. If that is an address which is odd, then you'll set the bit. If the address is an even address, it clears the bit. So FFC6 at the very top is bit 0, and it will clear that bit because it's an even address. If I were to store into memory address FFC7, it would set the exact same bit that FFC6 clears. In this way, we are setting up a whole series of registers on the chips without using data bus. And this was done back in 1981, 1982. And it's not the only machine to do it. It turns out the Archimedes did this as well, for exactly the same reason. They realized that putting a data bus between these two chips was going to be a cost. So they just says, right, we'll just look at what addresses are written to and just use that to set our data internally. So from the Dragon and its high resolution graphics to Nintendo and its sort of high.
It was a good explanation, because I always kind of wondered why the heck they did the odd even thing too, because they could have compressed that down into a single byte and it would have been, quicker to write and easier to understand type thing, instead of the odd even address for setting each individual bit on the SAM. But then there's an explanation for it. You don't need a data bus hooked up at all to do that. You're just dependent on the address bus itself. So I'm sure you hardware guys were well aware of this way before, but that was a better explanation than I've usually heard as to why. I did understand how it works, but I always thought it was really stupid. Oh, now I kind of understand it was a memory saving or a cost saving measure.
I've been considering just a stupid thing myself, so.
Anyway, you can watch the rest of it. You're interested in general history. He goes through multiple other machines here that he goes through and picks a certain something related with numbers that is unique to that machine or fairly unique to that machine, just like he mentioned the way the book is written. And I do plan on eventually picking up this book at some point, because it does have a lot of really cool stuff in it from what I've seen. And that's all I've got for news this week.
Wakey, wakey.
Still under 4 hours.
Get up and make more news, folks. Next week's coming.
I'm here.
Henry, you're muted.
Wake up, Henry.
But but just enough time for me to figure out that the halfway point for me to get to VCF Midwest is in fact Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay. So what you gonna do in Erie?
Stay the night so that I don't have to drive for like 20 hours straight.
Well, Tron was
what's the
driving
fun
for
in
20
that?
hours straight.
He's
I
not
don't
Canadian.
He's not
I
insane
don't
like
have-
Ken and me.
I drive a stick shift and I don't have cruise control.
Okay.
And an
Yeah,
empty
I have a
clutch.
stick shift too, but I do have cruise control and I do use that. So
Okay, so yeah, cramp on the left, cramp on the right. What a
Yep, exactly. And my knee jacks up and I can't walk straight. And that's a normal day anyway, but I'd rather have a more easy time of walking straight. You know what I mean?
I get that same effect, but I drink to do that. So
Apparently,
I
you
was
don't
gonna
have a
s-
clutch. So what do you need what are you worried about being a stick shift for?
Well, I was going to say when he goes staggering into the hotel bar, they look at you kind of funny.
Yeah,
I've just been driving for 20 hours. I'm not drunk, officer. Honestly,
Right,
I'm not drunk. I'm just fatigued. You're still impaired.
right.
anyway, that's it. If Mark B is around, I think that's it for the show this week.
No, Mark's asleep.
We should
All
always
right.
sneak out.
Night,
quietly.
everyone.
Well, I got up at 2:30 this morning, so
Ouch! I hate that for you.
Right?
so. Oh, outro. That's what we need.
Yeah. You could have up to 5 hours
Push button,
more.
Frank.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the Coco Discord server. Coco forever.
Okay. Enough fun for 1 week.
All right.
Bye.
Night, everyone.
Anything,
See you next
folks.
weekend.
anything on tap for next week?
Nothing.
We'll make it
specific
up
that I
next
know.
week.
Okay. See ya.
All right.
No one
Bye,
can
y'all.
see me wave because
Peace
my
out.
camera's not on.
All right.